The curse broke not with thunder but with silence. A silence so deep it felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting to see if love could truly defy the gods. In the ruins of the old world, the Wolf King and the girl who kissed him built something new. Not a kingdom carved from fear, but a sanctuary born of choice. There were no crowns, no chains, only the steady rhythm of two hearts that refused to stop fighting for one another. Sometimes, when the wind sweeps through the veil, the people still swear they hear them, her laughter, his growl softened by her name. They say the moon glows red only once every 100 years now. A reminder that love, real love, is not the fairy tale we were promised. It's the war we choose to keep fighting even after the wounds have healed. And if you listen closely, in the hush between heartbeats, you might still hear her whisper. The beast was never the curse. It was the reason I learned how to love. Chapter 1, The Wrong Kiss. The night bled silver. Wind howled through the spires of the capital, dragging with it the scent of rain and fear. Beneath the moon's hollow eye, the Bloodmoon Rite had begun. A sea of wolves cloaked in crimson light, their howls echoing through the stone amphitheater like a hymn to the old gods. Seren Vale stood at the edge of it all, heart hammering in her throat. She had sworn she would never come here. Never stand among the trembling maidens offering themselves up to alphas, to be claimed, branded, and bound by ancient magic older than mercy. Yet here she was, pressed between strangers and smoke, her healer's hands trembling around a charm of salt and bone. Because of her mentor. Because old Mara was dying, and this was the only night the high healers opened their doors to outsiders. The irony was almost cruel. Still, Seren kept her head low, cloak drawn close, her mind a storm of defiance. She hated this ritual, this spectacle of dominance masked as destiny. But what choice did she have? Her life was a fragile thread tied to the woman who had raised her. Without the high healer's help, that thread would snap. Her breath caught as the drums changed. The air shifted, heavy, electric. The crowd fell silent. And then the Alpha stepped forth. Men carved of shadow and power, their eyes glowing with the primal light of their beasts. Some smiled like hunters. Others simply stared, searching for the pull of the bond that would choose their mate. Seren felt it then, the faint hum in her blood like a warning. She shouldn't be here. The magic of the rite wasn't meant for her. She tried to turn away. But the crowd surged, pushing her forward. Before she could move, a hand caught her wrist, rough, warm, trembling. A blind man stood before her. His eyes, pale as moonstone, saw nothing. His cloak was ragged, his face half hidden by shadow and grime. But his voice, his voice, was low and rough, like gravel stirred by thunder. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped. "This place will eat you alive." Her breath hitched. "What's it to you?" she snapped, masking fear with sarcasm. He tilted his head as if listening to her heartbeat. "Because," he murmured, "it already tastes you." Seren froze. The air around them crackled. And just like that, everything changed. The drums rose again, faster, louder, calling for the final invocation. The high priestess's voice boomed over the gathering, "Blood calls to blood. Let fate bind the willing and the damned alike." The crowd knelt. Magic shimmered through the air like liquid fire. Panic clawed at Seren's throat. She needed to leave now before, without warning, the blind man staggered forward, collapsing at her feet. His hand brushed her ankle. Heat flared through her body, wild, scorching, alive. The bond magic had found her. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, no, no, this isn't." The crowd gasped as the blind man reached for her face, his fingers trembling. "Please," he rasped. "Don't." She didn't think. She didn't breathe. Her body moved on instinct. She bent, to steady him, to help him, but in the chaos her lips brushed his. It was a kiss. Barely. A whisper of warmth. And yet it tore the world apart. Lightning cracked across the sky. The amphitheater exploded in blinding light. Power surged through her veins like wildfire, and his ragged breath caught, turning into a growl that shook the stones. The crowd screamed. "Bloodbound," someone shouted. "The rite has chosen." But Seren didn't feel chosen. She felt trapped. Her chest ached, her head spinning as the world blurred into red and gold. The blind man, no, the creature before her, rose to his full height. His rags fell away like ash, revealing the mark of the Alpha King seared upon his chest. Whispers rippled through the onlookers. Impossible, he was dead. "It's him, Kael Drenhar." The name struck her like a blade. Kael, the lost heir, the cursed beast whispered about in every tavern and nightmare. The Alpha who had been banished years ago for defying his stepmother, the Queen Regent. And she had just bound herself to him. The magic flared again, wrapping around them like a chain of molten light. His hand reached out, not in dominance but desperation, fingers shaking as if fighting the beast inside. "Seren?" His voice cracked like thunder. "Run." But before she could, the world shattered into fire. Chapter 2, The Mark in the Monster. When Seren woke, the world was quiet. Too quiet. No drums. No chanting. No crowd. Only the whisper of wind through stone and the faint, metallic scent of blood on her tongue. Her body ached as if lightning had kissed her skin and left its memory behind. Beneath her collarbone something burned, steady, rhythmic. She lifted her hand and hissed when her fingers brushed it. A mark. Not ink. Not a wound. A sigil of living fire pulsed there, shaped like a crescent entwined with a wolf's eye. And it glowed when she breathed. What did I do?" she whispered. The memory came back in pieces. The blind man's hand, the pull in her chest, the kiss that split the night in half. His voice. "Run." But then chaos. Screams. Eat. And now, nothing. Seren sat up. The amphitheater was gone, or rather what remained of it was a blackened ruin. Stones cracked open like eggshells. The altar lay shattered. Ash hung in the air like ghosts. And in the center of it all, half buried beneath fallen pillars, was him. The beggar. The king. The beast. Kael Drenhar. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to move closer. His body was still, his chest rising faintly, a dark sprawl of scars tracing his ribs. His hair, dark as storm clouds, clung to his temples. And around him the air shimmered, thick with magic. Seren hesitated. Every instinct screamed to leave, to run before whatever she'd unleashed woke again. But something stronger held her there. The mark on her skin pulsed in rhythm with his breath. Each beat whispered one truth: "You are bound." She knelt beside him, voice trembling. "If you're truly who they said you are, then God's help me." His eyelids flickered. The faintest sound escaped him, not a word but a growl. It rolled through her bones like thunder. Without warning his hand shot up, catching her wrist. Her heart leapt. "Let go." He didn't. His grip was strong, fevered, desperate. His eyes snapped open, and for the first time she saw them not clouded, not blind, but burning gold, wild and alive. The beast had woken. "You," he rasped. His voice was rough, ancient. "What have you done?" I didn't mean to," she stammered. "You were dying and I just kissed me," he finished, voice a blade against her throat. "You kissed me under the blood moon." Her pulse raced. "You would have died." "I was meant to die." His hand trembled, eyes flashing between rage and something she couldn't name. "You broke the curse." Her breath caught. "Then you should be thanking me." He laughed, a sound like broken glass. "You don't understand what you've done." "Then tell me." Kael's jaw clenched. The silence between them crackled with danger and heat. Finally he released her wrist, slowly like a predator testing its leash. "When the queen cursed me," he said, voice low, "she bound my power to my death. The only way to break it was through choice, a soul who would choose me freely beneath the blood moon. That kiss," his gaze dropped to her mark, "made you my anchor." Seren's stomach twisted. Anchor. He met her eyes, gold burning through the shadows. "My rage. My beast. My bond. You hold it all now." "That's impossible." "Is it?" He took a slow step toward her. The air thickened. The mark on her chest flared. You feel it too, don't you? The pull. The fire. She did. Gods, she did. It coiled beneath her skin like molten light. Her every breath filled with his scent, smoke, wild pine, iron. Stop, she whispered, backing away. Don't come closer. But his voice dropped, soft, broken. You think I want this? To bind another to my curse. Then unbind me. I can't. His tone cracked. Not without killing you. The words hit harder than any blow. Seren stumbled back, heartbeat skittering. Then what happens now? Kael looked past her to the ruins, the smoldering sigils carved into the stones. Now the queen will know I live. And she'll come for you. Me? She'll see you as the key or the weapon. Either way, she'll want you dead. The wind picked up, swirling ash around them. Somewhere in the distance, wolves howled, not the wild kind but the trained ones. The blood guard. Kael turned sharply toward the sound. They're already coming. Panic surged. I don't understand any of this. He grabbed her hand. You will. Before she could protest, the ground trembled. A ripple of dark energy coursed beneath their feet. The queen's magic, hunting, reaching. Run, little healer, Kael said, his voice suddenly soft. And this time, don't look back. Her heart ached. You can't fight them alone. But his eyes, gods, those eyes, held both warning and plea. If they catch you, she wins. You carry my mark. That makes you the crown she's feared for years. Lightning flashed again, distant but closing in. Seren hesitated one heartbeat longer, then turned and ran, through smoke, through ruin, through the storm. Behind her, the beast roared. And just like that, the world she'd known, the world of herbs and quiet rooms and dreams of freedom, was gone. Chapter 3, The Beast's Shadow. The forest swallowed her whole. Mist clung to the ground like a living thing, pale tendrils curling around her ankles as she ran. Branches tore at her cloak. Roots caught her feet. The night was endless. Only the moon, red and swollen, watched from above like a blood-stained eye. Seren's breath came in ragged bursts. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. Run, little healer. Kael's voice haunted every step. But she didn't know where she was running. Behind her, faint but growing louder, came the sounds, the clang of metal, the rhythmic beat of hooves, the chilling baying of hounds. The blood guard. The queen's wolves. Seren ducked beneath a fallen log, pressing her palm against her chest. The mark burned hotter now, reacting to something, fear, magic, him. It pulsed, a heartbeat beneath her own. Kael, she whispered. What are you doing? No answer. Only the whisper of wind and distant thunder. Then faintly, a growl. Not human. Not quite animal. It rippled through the mist, low and primal, and every hair on her body rose. She pressed a hand to her mouth, forcing herself to stay silent. But the sound came closer. The brush parted and a shape emerged, enormous, fluid, wrong. For a heartbeat she thought it was one of the queen's beasts, but then the mist cleared and she saw the truth. Golden eyes. Kael. But not the man who had spoken in the ruins. This was the other half, the shadow he'd warned her about. His body moved like smoke and muscle, shifting between form and form, half man, half wolf, all fury. Seren's pulse stuttered. She backed away, whispering, Kael? The creature froze, golden eyes locking on her. Recognition flickered, brief, fragile. Then the mark on her chest flared. Pain lanced through her, sharp as lightning. She cried out, clutching her heart. The beast snarled, stepping closer. The connection between them snapped taut, invisible, unbreakable. He was inside her mind. Don't fear me. The voice wasn't spoken aloud, but it echoed inside her skull, deep, resonant, edged with pain. You're hurting me, she thought, not knowing how she was doing it, only that he heard. Then breathe. I can't hold it back if you're afraid. Her hands trembled. The bond pulsed again, rhythm syncing to his ragged breathing. Slowly she forced herself to exhale. The forest quieted. The mist stilled. And then, impossibly, the monster began to change. The fur receded. The claws shortened. The growling gave way to heavy, uneven breathing. Within moments, Kael was on his knees before her, human again, sweat-drenched and trembling. His chest rose and fell with effort. She stared at him, horrified and awed all at once. "You, that was you." He didn't look up. "I told you. The beast is mine to bear, but the bond ties it to you now. When you run, it hunts." Her throat went dry. "So if I'm afraid, it feeds it." She sank to her knees across from him, shaking. "That's madness." He gave a bitter laugh. "Welcome to my world." For a moment the forest was still. The only sounds were their breathing and the distant cry of crows. Kael lifted his head finally, his golden eyes now dulled with exhaustion, not fury. "You shouldn't have stayed near me," he said. "The Bloodguard track my scent. They'll kill anything bound to it." Seren clenched her fists. "Then we move. Together." He blinked. "You don't understand." "I don't care." She met his gaze, fierce despite the tremor in her voice. "You think I'll survive this on my own? You think I can just walk away from whatever you've made me part of?" Kael stared at her, really stared as if seeing her for the first time. Then softly, "You're braver than you should be." "I'm terrified," she whispered. "I'm just not letting it stop me." A faint smile ghosted his lips. "Then maybe there's hope for us yet." Before she could respond, the sound of horns split the air, sharp, distant, moving fast. Kael's expression hardened instantly. They found the trail. He rose in one fluid motion, reaching for her hand. "Stay close. Don't let go no matter what happens." She grasped his hand without hesitation. The mark on her chest blazed, and beneath her palm, his pulse beat in perfect time. They ran. Through fog and thorns, through the whispering dark. The forest seemed alive, branches shifting to block pursuit, roots curling to trip the hunters. Magic, his or hers or both. Behind them, shadows flickered. The Bloodguard, masked and mounted, their eyes glowing faintly blue under enchanted helms. They shouted her name like a curse. Seren stumbled once and Kael caught her, pulling her tight against him as arrows whistled through the air. One grazed his shoulder. He didn't flinch. "Almost there," he growled. "Where?" "The WRD gate." She didn't know what that meant, only that the air grew colder, heavier, the mist turning silver. The world began to hum like a string pulled too tight. Then, light. A wall of shimmering darkness loomed ahead, threaded with ancient runes. Kael pressed his palm to it. The sigils flared gold, matching his eyes. "Through here," he said. The moment they crossed, the world shifted. Sound dampened, air thickened, colors deepened. The forest fell away, replaced by black cliffs and the crash of distant waves. Seren gasped. "Where are we?" Kael looked back at her, the wind tugging at his torn cloak. "Home." She followed his gaze, to the fortress carved into the cliffs above the sea. Spires like obsidian blades. Torches flickering against endless night. The Obsidian Keep, where the cursed king ruled his ghosts. Seren swallowed hard. The mark burned faintly again as if recognizing its origin. Kael's expression was unreadable as he turned to her. "You wanted to know what you've bound yourself to, healer. You're about to find out." "Excellent," continuing seamlessly. Tone remains dark, gothic, romantic, with immersive sensory detail, cinematic tension, and deep emotional undercurrents. This is where Seren enters Kael's ruined domain, the Obsidian Keep, and begins to see both the world's darkness and the fragile humanity buried beneath Kael's beast. Chapter 4, The Obsidian Keep. The sea roared beneath the cliffs like a creature denied. Salt wind clawed through the air, stinging Seren's eyes as she stared up at the fortress looming above them, a citadel carved from black stone, its towers half consumed by ivy and shadow. Lightning danced across the clouds, illuminating fanged gargoyles crouched along its walls. "This was your home?" she whispered. Kael's jaw tightened. "Once." He strode ahead, his steps silent on the slick stone path that wound up toward the massive gates. Each movement carried the heaviness of memory. Seren followed, her pulse uneven, her mind racing with the images still burning behind her eyes. His transformation, the way his beast had looked at her as though she were the only thing anchoring him to this world. Now, the mark beneath her ribs throbbed in time with the rhythm of the sea. She could feel his heartbeat echo through it, distant but insistent, like an invisible thread binding them across space. They reached the gates, vast slabs of obsidian etched with runes that shimmered faintly in the stormlight. Kael placed his hand against them. The symbols flared gold, then faded, and with a groaning sound that seemed to shake the cliffs themselves, the gates parted. The air inside was different, colder, older. It smelled of iron, rain, and long-buried secrets. Seren stepped through. The hall beyond was a cathedral of shadow. High arches soared above, webbed with cracks. Chandeliers hung unlit, dripping with dust. Portraits lined the walls, proud men and women with gold eyes, their painted gazes following her every step. Kael's voice broke the silence. "Welcome to the Obsidian Keep." "It feels," she hesitated, "haunted." "It is." He said it without irony. His boots echoed softly as he walked toward the massive hearth at the center of the hall. With a wave of his hand, flames burst to life, bathing the stone in trembling light. For a moment, the shadows seemed to recoil, but only for a moment. Seren's gaze swept the space. "You live here alone?" Pause. "Alone enough." That answer sent a chill through her. Her fingers trailed over a cracked marble column, the texture cold and rough. "How long have you been like this?" she asked quietly. Kael didn't look at her. The firelight traced the hard lines of his face, the faint shimmer of a scar running along his jaw. "Since the night my father died. The curse took me soon after. My stepmother called it justice." "Justice for what?" "For being born." The words hung in the air like the toll of a bell. Seren didn't know what to say. Instead, she moved closer to the fire, holding her hands toward the warmth. "And the curse, it binds you to the beast?" He nodded. "To anger. To hunger. To the part of me that should never see light." Her eyes met his. "But I saw it. I saw him." Kael turned then gazed sharp. "You saw what it wants you to see." "No," she stepped closer. "I saw someone fighting." "You weren't lost in it, not completely." Something flickered across his face, disbelief maybe or pain. "You think you can save me from what I am?" "I don't believe in saving people," Seren said. "But I believe in choosing them." Silence. The fire cracked softly. Then, almost too low to hear, Kael murmured, "You shouldn't choose me, healer." Seren didn't answer. She didn't have to. The mark on her chest pulsed again and Kael flinched as if struck. He pressed a hand to his sternum, breath hitching. "The bond? I feel it too. It shouldn't be this strong already." His voice was rough, strained. "The magic, it's feeding off something." "Fear?" she asked. He looked at her, eyes darkening, gold flickering like trapped fire. "Or want?" Her breath caught. The air between them thickened, charged. For a heartbeat, it was as if the world held still, the only sounds their mingled breaths and the thunder outside. Then Kael turned sharply away, breaking whatever had begun to form. "You need rest. The keep will protect you while I'm gone." She blinked. "Gone?" He reached for his cloak. "I have to ensure the blood guard didn't follow us through the gate. They won't stop hunting until they've found you." Seren crossed her arms. "And you expect me to just wait here? In your haunted castle?" His lips curved faintly. "You're safer here than anywhere else." "That's not the same as safe." Kael's eyes softened, just a fraction. "You're right. Nothing is." He moved toward the door but she caught his sleeve. "Kael." He froze. "Whatever this bond is, don't face it alone." For a moment he didn't speak. Then he turned his hand, catching hers, his touch rough and warm. "You don't know what you're asking. Then teach me." His gaze locked with hers, molten gold meeting storm gray. Something unspoken passed between them. Fear, hunger, defiance. Then he released her hand and stepped away. "Stay near the fire," he said softly. "The shadows have teeth." And then he was gone, the great doors closing behind him, leaving her alone in the echoing dark. Seren stood for a long time, staring into the flames. The keep creaked inside, alive with whispers. Somewhere far below, something moved, chains dragging over stone, a faint growl beneath the floor. The wind howled through the cracks and her mark burned again, answering something unseen. Seren closed her eyes. What have I done? The sea answered with a roar. Chapter 5, The Cursed King. The storm never stopped. Rain lashed the towers of the obsidian keep, rattling against the stained glass windows like restless spirits trying to claw their way in. Beneath the noise, Seren could hear the steady hum of the magic embedded in the walls, a low vibration that seemed to match the beat of her own heart. Hours had passed since Kael had vanished into the night. The fire had burned down to embers, painting the great hall in trembling red. Shadows moved on their own across the stone, too fluid, too aware. Seren wrapped a fur cloak tighter around her shoulders. Every creak of the keep made her flinch. Yet even in her fear, her curiosity grew. Something called to her, deeper in the fortress, behind the iron stairwell that spiraled into darkness. Before she could talk herself out of it, she grabbed a candle and followed the sound. The stairs descended forever, air thickening with the scent of wet earth and iron. The flame shivered. At the bottom she found a door half buried in roots. Its surface was carved with the same runes as the gate above, except these glowed faintly blue, alive with power. Her mark throbbed in answer. She hesitated only a moment, then placed her hand against the wood. The runes pulsed once, then the door opened with a sound like a sigh. The chamber beyond was circular and vast, the air heavy with age. In its center stood a mural, ancient, half crumbling but still vivid. It depicted a man crowned in gold fire standing over a wolf with eyes like suns. Around them, a woman cloaked in silver reached toward both, her hands outstretched as if pleading. And carved beneath it were words she almost recognized: "The bond shall save or shatter the bloodline." Her pulse quickened. Save or shatter. As the words left her lips, the mural shifted. The painted eyes of the wolf turned toward her, glowing faintly. The candle flickered out. Darkness swallowed her whole. For one breath she stood frozen, heart hammering. Then faintly she heard it, a growl deep and resonant, echoing from the far side of the room. "Kael?" she whispered. No answer. Only the sound of claws against stone. Her throat tightened. The air grew hotter, charged. Then golden light flared, revealing him. Kael stood in the doorway, rain-soaked, his hair plastered to his temples. His eyes were no longer human. They blazed like molten metal. "Why are you down here?" His voice was rough, almost unrecognizable, half man, half beast. "I heard something. You shouldn't be here." The walls trembled at the force of his shout. She flinched, candle clattering to the floor. "I was just." He stepped forward, and for the first time she saw how much control it cost him to stay upright. His muscles trembled. His claws, flexed at his sides. "The curse stirs with the moon," he rasped. "I can feel it tearing through me." Seren took a cautious step closer. "Then let me help you." His laughter was jagged, bitter. "Help me? You don't understand what's inside me, Seren. What it wants. Then tell me." He met her gaze and she saw it, the storm beneath his skin. The beast, caged but restless. "I was born bound to two bloodlines," he said hoarsely. "The royal and the feral. When my father died, the court feared what I'd become. So they bound my power with blood magic. But the curse twisted it, turned the wolf into something else. Something that devours everything I love. Kael? That's why I left. That's why I let them believe I was dead." His hands curled into fists. "It was the only way to keep them safe." "Safe from you?" she asked softly. He looked away. "Yes." Seren took another step forward. "And yet the bond brought you back." He exhaled, eyes flickering toward her mark. "The bond shouldn't exist. Not with me." "Maybe it wasn't meant to," she whispered. "Maybe it chose to." Something in her voice pulled him toward her. In the flickering rune light she could see the war on his face, rage against the curse, hunger for her. The beast inside him clawed to the surface, trembling through every breath. "Seren," he warned, voice breaking. "Stay back." But her feet refused to obey. "You don't scare me." "You should." "I don't." Her voice softened, trembling. "Because I see you, The man fighting beneath the monster. He froze. The word struck something deep, primal. Then the air changed. Her mark flared, golden fire burning beneath her skin. Kael doubled over, growling as if the bond itself tore through his control. "Get out," he snarled, voice distorted. "Before I—" But she didn't move. She stepped close enough to touch him, hand trembling as she reached for his cheek. "Then fight it. With me." His head snapped up, and the moment their eyes met, everything shattered. The magic roared awake. The runes ignited. Golden light exploded between them, throwing shadows like wings across the chamber. Seren gasped as the bond seared brighter than ever, not pain but connection. Her heart pounded in time with his. And for a heartbeat she saw it, not the beast, not the king, but the man trapped in both. Then Kael caught her wrist, his touch searing. His breath ragged. "You shouldn't have come here," he whispered. Her reply trembled out. "Maybe I was always meant to." The tension between them cracked open. Too close, too much. He looked at her like he was drowning. "Seren." The sound of her name on his lips undid her. The mark pulsed once, and then faded, leaving silence in its wake. Kael stumbled back, chest heaving. His eyes flickered, gold to gray, wolf to man. "The curse?" He swallowed hard. "You weakened it." Seren exhaled shakily. "I didn't do anything." "You did." He looked at her with something like awe and fear. "You're not just my bond. You're its balance." Before she could ask what that meant, thunder crashed overhead. The keep groaned. Somewhere distant, a bell tolled, 3 slow chimes. Kael's head snapped toward the sound. "They found us." "Who?" "The Blood Guard." He grabbed her hand. "We have to move. Now." The walls shook again, dust raining from the ceiling. The runes flickered violently, warning of intrusion. Seren's pulse surged. "But how? This place is protected." "Not from those who built it." And just like that, everything changed. Kael pulled her toward the staircase, the golden mark on his wrist blazing brighter than ever. Above them, shadows gathered, armored figures cloaked in stormlight, eyes gleaming red. The hunt had begun. Chapter 6. The Bloodguards returned. The first blow hit like thunder. Stone cracked somewhere above them, and the torches lining the corridor flared violently before snuffing out. Kael didn't hesitate. He caught Seren's wrist and pulled her forward, his movements fast, precise, almost feral. "They're using war runes," he growled. "The kind that eat through protective wards." Seren stumbled to keep up, her boots slipping on the wet stone. "But how could they even know?" "They always know," he said, eyes flashing. "The Bloodguard were trained to hunt my kind. To hunt me." They rounded a corner. A gust of cold air rushed down the hall, carrying the metallic tang of ozone. Ahead, the gates of the lower passage trembled beneath unseen impacts, each one making the old iron shriek like a living thing. Seren's heart hammered. She could feel the echo of Kael's panic vibrating down the bond, not fear for himself but for her. He stopped suddenly and turned, forcing her to face him. His hands framed her shoulders, rough and trembling. "Listen to me, Seren. If they breach the keep, you run. Don't look back. Don't wait for me. I'm not leaving you." "Damn it, you don't understand." "I understand enough." Her voice shook but didn't falter. "The bond chose us both, Kael. If I run, it breaks." He stared at her, truly stared, and in the torchlight she saw the conflict tear through him. The beast wanted to fight. The man wanted to protect. The king, somewhere in between, wanted to trust. "You shouldn't have come into my life," he whispered. "Then why does it feel like I always belonged in it?" she whispered back. Before he could answer, the gates burst inward. Light and shadow collided, bolts of red energy tearing through the corridor. Kael spun, dragging Seren behind him as he raised one arm. A shield of golden fire erupted around them, shimmering like molten glass. The first of the Bloodguard stepped through the smoke, tall, armored in black iron, faces hidden behind masks carved with runes. Their swords gleamed with bloodlight. Kael of the Broken Line, one of them called, voice distorted. "By order of the High Circle, your exile ends tonight." Kael's laugh was low, dangerous. You should have stayed in your sanctum. You have broken the blood vow, the soldier continued, and taken what is forbidden. His masked gaze flicked towards Seren. The bond has reawakened. Seren stiffened under the weight of their attention. The mark on her wrist pulsed, reacting to the runes on their armor. Kael's voice dropped to a growl. Touch her, and you'll learn what kind of monster you made. The Bloodguard advanced. Kael moved like lightning, claws flashing, fire spilling from his hands. The corridor filled with chaos, steel clanging, spells shattering against stone, the air thick with smoke and power. Seren pressed herself to the wall, trying to stay out of the crossfire, but every time one of them got too close, her mark burned, and a pulse of golden energy leapt from her skin, deflecting their strikes. One guard staggered back, armor cracking where her energy struck. He hissed. She channels it. The balance. Kill her, another shouted. Kael roared, a sound not human, not beast, but something divine. The sound tore through the air, shattering runes, breaking armor. No one touches her. Seren's heart pounded, fear and awe in equal measure. For the first time she saw him fully unleashed, his aura blazing gold and black, eyes molten, every motion pure destruction. But the Bloodguard didn't falter. There were too many of them. For every one Kael brought down, two more filled the space. He staggered, a blade slicing across his shoulder, dark blood splattering the floor. Seren cried out, instinct taking over. She reached for him, and the moment her skin brushed his, the bond flared like a sunburst. Golden fire erupted outward, blasting every Bloodguard off their feet. The shockwave cracked the stone walls and set the air shimmering with light. When it faded, silence reigned. The surviving guards lay strewn across the floor, armor smoking. Some crawled away. Others vanished in bursts of crimson light, retreating through teleport runes. Kael swayed, barely standing. His chest heaved, sweat and blood mixing at his collar. Seren ran to him. Kael, you're bleeding? He caught her wrist again, not harshly but with the desperation of a drowning man. What did you just do? I don't know, she breathed. It just happened. The bond, he muttered. It's growing. Rain leaked in through the shattered ceiling above them. For a moment, everything was quiet except their breathing and the rain's hollow rhythm. Then Kael sank to one knee. Kael? He waved her off, grimacing. Not dead yet. She knelt beside him anyway, pressing her hand over his wound. Warmth bloomed beneath her palm, not from her own magic but from the bond itself. Golden light spread from her touch, knitting torn flesh, sealing blood. Kael's breath hitched. That shouldn't be possible. Neither should any of this, she murmured. When the wound closed, she met his gaze, and saw gratitude tangled with something heavier, something unspoken. Seren. Before he could continue, thunder rumbled outside, a deep, ominous drumbeat that didn't sound natural. Kael's head lifted, eyes narrowing. They're calling for reinforcements. The next wave will bring spellbinders. So what do we do? He stood slowly, pain etched across his face but his will unbroken. We make them regret ever stepping into my home. And if the curse... I'll hold it, he said simply. For you. Her heart twisted. The bond thrummed between them, not just a pulse of magic but an emotion, vast and undeniable. Fear. Desire. Trust. And for a heartbeat, the world outside didn't exist. Only the rain and the quiet space between their breaths. Seren whispered, then we fight together. Kael's lips curved, not quite a smile but close. Then together it is. Outside, lightning split the night in two. The keep stood on the edge of ruin, but its heart, its cursed king and his unwilling savior, beat stronger than ever. The Bloodguard would come again. And this time they would find not a monster or a girl, but something far more dangerous. Two souls bound by fate, refusing to break. Chapter 7, The Shattered Throne. The keep still smoked when dawn broke, a pale, colorless light bleeding across the sky like a wound that refused to close. Seren stood on the battlements, cloak whipping in the cold wind. Below, the forest stretched in silver mist. What had once been Kael's kingdom, the lands of Drenhar, now looked like a graveyard of forgotten glory, crumbled towers, empty villages, the ashes of an empire. She'd never seen a sunrise look so haunted. Behind her, footsteps, heavy, deliberate. Kael. He didn't speak at first. He leaned on the stone parapet beside her, his hair damp with rain and blood still crusted near his collar. The wounds she'd healed had left faint scars, pale against the bronze of his skin. They'll regroup, he said quietly. The Bloodguard don't retreat twice. Seren nodded. Then we have until nightfall. His gaze flicked toward her, sharp, searching. You're not afraid. I am. She hesitated. Just, not of them. Kael's expression softened, just a fraction. Then what are you afraid of, little healer? Seren looked out at the mist. That I've tied myself to something I don't understand. That every choice I make pulls me deeper into a world I swore I'd never belong to. His hand brushed the stone between them. You didn't choose the bond. She turned to him. Didn't I? For a long moment, only the wind spoke, a low moan through broken battlements. Kael finally straightened. Come with me. He led her down the stairwell, through corridors where the shadows clung like spider silk, through doors that creaked open at his touch. They descended deeper, the air growing colder, until they reached a chamber sealed by iron and silence. Seren stopped at the threshold. What is this place? Kael placed his palm against the ancient door. Runes flared under his skin, faint, golden, alive. The throne room, he said. Or what's left of it. The doors groaned open. Inside lay ruin. The once great hall was split down the center. The ceiling collapsed, the obsidian floor fractured into black glass shards that reflected the faint torchlight. And there, at the far end, stood what remained of the throne, a jagged, broken seat of carved onyx. Its surface shimmered faintly with old magic, like embers that refused to die. Seren felt something stir in her chest, a pulse that matched the bond's rhythm. She stepped forward slowly. It feels alive. It remembers, Kael murmured. Everything in this place does. He walked toward the throne, his footsteps echoing hollowly. My father sat here once. He ruled with mercy, not fear. That was his first mistake. Seren frowned. And your stepmother? She called mercy weakness. Kael's jaw tightened. She poisoned him. Blame me. Said the beast in me had devoured his heart. Seren's breath caught. The curse began that night. He looked back at her, eyes shadowed by memory. She bound me with his blood and her magic. Said if I wished to rule, I must embrace what I truly was, the beast inside the alpha line. I refused. So she made sure the world would never see me again. He reached up, touching the faint scar that crossed his left eye. Blindness was her mercy. Exile her punishment. The beast, her gift. Seren took a step closer. And the bond? It broke her curse? Partially. His voice dropped, rough as gravel. Your kiss, your blood, woke what was dormant. But the bond doesn't just heal. It demands balance. Your light tempers the beast. My darkness feeds your strength. Without one, the other burns. She shivered. So if one of us dies, the other unravels. Silence. Heavy. Sacred. Seren stared at the fractured throne, its shards gleaming like obsidian teeth. Why bring me here? Because this is where it ends, Kael said. And where it must begin again. He moved closer, his voice low and steady. You asked what you've tied yourself to. The truth is, Seren, you didn't just free me, you bound yourself to the line of kings. The mark you bear isn't random. It's the mark of the balance. No alpha can rule without it. Her pulse faltered. That can't be right. I'm not of your blood. He smiled faintly, though there was no joy in it. Balance never chooses by blood. It chooses by soul. Seren stared at the faint gold mark on her wrist, the sigil that had appeared the night she kissed him. It pulsed once, answering something in the room, something ancient and waiting. The broken throne glowed. Kael turned sharply. It's reacting to you. The air grew dense, thick with the scent of iron and rain. The cracks in the floor began to hum with faint light, lines of power weaving toward the throne like veins of fire. Seren stumbled back. Kael? He caught her hand. Don't fight it. I can't, it's burning. Then let it. The glow surged. Wind whipped through the hall, tearing through Kael's cloak and sending Seren's hair flying. The mark on her wrist flared, mirrored by the sigil glowing faintly on Kael's chest, the ancient Alpha seal. For a moment, they were surrounded by light, gold and black, entwined, spiraling upward until it struck the broken throne. The sound was like a heartbeat, deep, resonant, alive. Then silence. The light faded. The throne, once shattered, now stood whole again, restored. Seren gasped. What did we just do? Kael's eyes widened. You restored it. She shook her head. No, we did. He looked at her for a long time, the realization dawning slowly, painfully. The keep recognizes you. The bond between them thrummed, stronger than before, thick with new energy. Seren felt it coiling through her, both terrifying and beautiful. She whispered, What does that mean? It means, Kael said softly, that the throne no longer belongs to me alone. Her breath caught. You're saying? I'm saying, he interrupted, voice low and reverent, that fate has bound us not as king and servant, but as equals. The words settled in the silence like a promise, or a curse. Outside, thunder rolled again, distant yet approaching. Seren looked toward the open archway, where dawn bled red across the horizon. Then the world won't take kindly to that. Kael smiled, a dark glint in his eyes. Let them come. He extended a hand, not as a command but as a vow. She took it. And the newly whole throne, symbol of an empire reborn, pulsed once as if sealing their pact. Far above, ravens scattered into the dawn. The shattered throne was whole again. But in mending it, they had awakened every shadow that once guarded its crown. Chapter 8, The Beast's Oath. That night the keep didn't sleep. Wind howled through the corridors like the voices of ghosts, whispering secrets of kings long dead. The fire in the great hall flickered restlessly, throwing golden light across walls now alive with restored sigils. Seren sat by the hearth, the weight of what she'd done pressing on her chest like armor she didn't ask to wear. Every heartbeat echoed the bond. Every breath carried his scent, storm and smoke. Across the room, Kael stood half in shadow, the firelight cutting across the sharp planes of his face. His gaze was distant, unreadable. Since the throne was restored, Seren said softly, breaking the silence, you've been quieter. Kael didn't turn. Because the keep isn't the only thing that woke tonight. Her stomach twisted. The beast? He nodded once. It stirs, louder than before. The throne feeds it, Seren. Power remembers power. And mine was never meant to be tamed. The flames crackled louder, as though the keep itself was listening. She stood slowly, stepping closer. Then let me help you. You already have. But... Kael turned sharply, his eyes catching the firelight, molten gold edged in shadow. You don't understand. The bond doesn't just tie us. It balances us. Every time I resist the beast, it drags you with me. You'll feel what I feel. Her breath caught. That's why my pulse burns at night. He exhaled shakily. Yes, because the curse runs through both of us now. Every heartbeat shared, every thought mirrored. I fight the darkness. He pressed a hand to his chest. And you pay the price. Despite that, Seren stepped forward. Then don't fight it alone. Kael stared at her, torn between fury and awe. You'd risk yourself, for me? Maybe it's not a risk, she said softly. Maybe it's what the bond was meant for. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence stretched, trembling like a held breath. Then Kael moved, slowly as if pulled by a string. He stopped a mere inch from her, close enough that she could feel the heat rolling off his skin. Her heart skipped. A beat later, his hand rose, brushing her cheek, a touch that was both reverent and claiming. You don't know what you're asking for, he murmured. Seren swallowed hard. Then show me. The air thickened. With every heartbeat, the bond pulsed between them, heat curling through her veins. His scent enveloped her, wild, dangerous, intoxicating. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, answering him instinctively. Before either could speak, the bond flared. Kael staggered, gripping the edge of the table. It's burning? Seren reached for him. Kael? But the moment her hand touched his, the world tilted. A rush of energy, raw and ancient, surged through her, stealing her breath. Shadows spilled from his body like smoke, twisting around them in a violent dance. His voice broke, half human, half something else, a growl echoing with power older than the keep itself. Step back. She didn't. Instead, she held tighter. No matter how hard you try to hide, I won't let you drown in it. The bond answered, pulsing so fiercely she thought it might tear her apart. Her vision blurred. For a moment, she saw flashes, a silver moon reflected in black water, claws raking across stone, a woman's scream that wasn't hers. The curse showed her its memory. When her sight cleared, Kael was on his knees, trembling. His claws had returned, sharp, glinting in the firelight, but his eyes were human again. Seren, he rasped. Why didn't you run? She knelt before him, breathless. Because running never saved anyone worth saving. He stared at her, really saw her, and for the first time his expression broke. You're not afraid of me. I was, she admitted. But then I realized, fear only feeds what haunts you. Kael exhaled, his voice trembling. The beast could have. It didn't. Her hand brushed his cheek, her thumb tracing the faint line of his scar. Because you're stronger than it. He closed his eyes, leaning into her touch for just a heartbeat, then pulled back as if it burned. You shouldn't touch me when it rises. I can't always hold it back. Then teach me how to help you hold it. The words hung between them, heavy, unbreakable. Kael's jaw clenched. You don't understand what you're offering. Maybe not. But I understand you. Her voice was steady now, calm and sure. You think the curse defines you. But it's not the beast that terrifies me, Kael. It's what it might cost you to fight it alone. He looked away. I don't know how to stop. Then swear you'll try. Swear to me. Kael hesitated. His hands trembled. Then slowly he reached for her, his fingers lacing with hers, claws retracting, the heat fading. I swear, he said hoarsely, on the blood that cursed me, and the bond that saved me, I will not let the beast take me. The oath rippled through the air. The torches flickered, and for a second the mark on her wrist glowed again, sealing his vow. But then, a shiver ran through her. The mark darkened. Kael's head snapped up. Seren? I'm fine, she began, but her voice faltered. The mark burned, not gold this time but black. Kael cursed, grabbing her wrist. No. It's the backlash. The curse doesn't want me bound by oath. What does that mean? It means, he growled, it's fighting back. The fire roared and suddenly the keep trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the restored throne cracked down its side, splitting with a thunderous sound. Seren gasped. Kael? He pulled her close, shielding her from falling stone. Stay behind me. But as the tremors faded, a cold laugh echoed through the hall, feminine, venomous, and familiar. Still pretending you can tame what was never yours, my son? Seren froze. Who? Kael's face went pale. Lysandra. The voice came again, smooth and cruel. You bound yourself to a healer, and now you think yourself redeemed? Foolish boy. The curse was mine to command. The air shimmered. From the darkness beyond the throne, a figure emerged, tall, cloaked, her eyes gleaming with silver fire. Kael stepped forward, teeth bared. You're dead. She smiled, a cold, perfect curve. Death means little to those who command the veil. Seren's blood ran cold. The curse hadn't just awakened. It had brought its creator back. Chapter 9, The Witch and the Wolf. Without warning, the torches along the great hall dimmed to embers. Shadows thickened like smoke. And from that darkness, Lysandra stepped forth. Her beauty was sharp enough to wound. Pale as moonlight, she glided between the ruined columns, her long black gown whispering against the stones. Power followed her like perfume, sweet, suffocating, and dangerous. Seren's breath caught. The air around the queen shimmered, rippling like heat over fire. Kael's voice was low, dangerous. You have no right to be here. Oh, but I do. Lysandra's smile didn't reach her eyes. You woke me the moment you broke the seal. Did you think curses were one-sided, my dear boy? The sound of her voice twisted through the hall, each word like silk wrapping around a blade. Seren stepped forward despite the instinct screaming run. You're the one who cursed him. Lysandra turned her gaze to her, assessing, almost amused. So you're the healer. The little spark that ruined centuries of work. Seren bristled. I didn't ruin anything. I saved him. Saved? Lysandra laughed softly. Child, you've doomed him. The curse was never meant to be broken. It was meant to contain what he truly is. The words struck like lightning. Kael snarled. Enough lies. But Lysandra only raised a brow. Tell her, Kael. Tell her what you were before I chained the beast. Seren looked at him, confusion and fear warring in her chest. Kael, what is she talking about? He said nothing. His silence was heavier than any confession. Lysandra's eyes gleamed. Ah, he hasn't told you. How noble. How tragic. She tilted her head, voice softening like poison honey. Before the curse, he wasn't merely an alpha. He was the source, the first of the bloodline. The beast that created all others. Seren's heart stuttered. That's not possible. Oh, but it is, the witch whispered. The curse was never to punish him. It was to cage the god inside him before it devoured everything he loved. Kael's fists clenched until blood ran between his knuckles. Enough. His voice thundered, shaking the stone. The torches flared violently. Lysandra didn't flinch. The beast was born of war, Seren Vale. When kings first turned wolf to rule by fang and fire. Your precious alpha king, she smiled, cruel and perfect, isn't a victim. He's the origin. Seren's knees nearly buckled. You mean, the curse didn't create the beast? It revealed it. The room spun. The mark on her wrist pulsed again, darker this time, like it too believed the witch's words. Kael turned on Lysandra, fury and guilt clashing in his eyes. You want me broken? You already took everything from me. She sighed, almost pitying. You misunderstand, Kael. I didn't curse you out of malice. I did it because I loved your father, and because I feared you. Seren's voice trembled. You killed him. Lysandra's eyes softened for the first time. He begged me to. When the beast in Kael first woke, it tore through the capital. Thousands died. I saved what I could, including him. At a cost. Kael's breath came ragged. Lies. Then ask your bond, she murmured. It knows the truth. And just like that, Seren felt it. A flicker of buried memory that wasn't hers. Blood on stone. Kael's scream, half man, half monster. The world burning beneath a silver moon. She staggered back. Kael? His jaw locked, but his eyes betrayed him. Flashes of pain, shame, and something darker. Deep down she knew the truth. Lysandra stepped closer, her shadow merging with the firelight. The curse kept the beast sleeping. But your bond, healer, your kiss, awoke it. Every heartbeat since has been feeding it. Seren's voice was barely a whisper. That's why the mark burns. Precisely. Lysandra's smile widened. And when the next blood moon rises, it will consume you both. What's worse, she added, her tone turning almost kind, you'll destroy each other long before that happens. Kael lunged. But Lysandra vanished in a shimmer of silver smoke. Her laughter lingered, echoing like the hiss of dying embers. The silence that followed was suffocating. Seren stood motionless, her chest rising and falling too fast. Tell me it isn't true. Kael's gaze was heavy, haunted. It doesn't matter what she says. The curse lives only because she does. That's not an answer, Seren snapped. Did you kill those people? He flinched as if struck. I don't remember. The curse took my mind. I woke to silence and ash. Then how do you know she's lying? Because I have to believe she is, he said, voice raw. If I'm truly what she claims, then every life I've touched was doomed from the start, including yours. Seren's throat ached. Don't you dare say that. He turned away, shadows crawling along his arms like smoke. You should leave this place before the blood moon rises again. I'm not leaving you. Then you'll die with me. The shout echoed through the hall, scattering dust from the rafters. The echo faded into stillness. Seren stared at him, this man who was both savior and monster, king and curse. Her heart hurt with it, but she didn't move. Finally she whispered, "If the beast was born from pain, then maybe it can die with love." Kael froze. His shoulders trembled. "You think love can unmake blood magic?" "I think love can change you." The bond pulsed, slow, steady, certain. And just like that, everything changed. Kael's fury faltered, replaced by something raw and fragile. "Oh, terror. Meet." He reached for her, then stopped midair, as if afraid his touch would break her. But Seren took his hand first. "Then let's prove her wrong." Outside, thunder rolled. The moon climbed higher. And somewhere deep within the keep, a beast stirred, whispering her name. Continue. Chapter 10. The Bond Unraveling. The night pressed against the windows like a living thing. Wind howled across the battlements, rattling the panes with cold fingers. Seren couldn't sleep. She sat by the dying fire, Kael's cloak wrapped around her shoulders, its scent, cedar, smoke, storm, anchoring her to the present. But the witch's words lingered, replaying in her head until they became a rhythm. The curse didn't create the beast, it caged it. Her fingers trembled as she traced the bond mark glowing faintly against her wrist. It pulsed in time with her heart, and, she suspected, his. Behind her, the door creaked open. Kael stepped in, half shadow, half silhouette. His armor was gone. Only a loose shirt clung to his frame, open at the throat, exposing the faint shimmer of gold veins pulsing beneath his skin. "You should be asleep," he murmured. "So should you," she replied. He hesitated, then crossed the room, the firelight catching in his hair, turning it molten. "The keep's wards are weakening. Lysandra's magic is older than I remember. I need time to reinforce them." Seren looked up at him. "You need rest." He laughed softly, without humor. "Rest doesn't come easily when your blood wants to tear the world apart." The words were meant to distance, but she saw the exhaustion behind his eyes. The loneliness. The ache. "You don't have to face this alone," she said quietly. He stopped beside her, the fire painting his face in gold and shadow. "I've always faced it alone." Something inside her twisted. "You don't have to anymore." For a moment he didn't move. Then his hand brushed her cheek, hesitant, reverent. "You don't know what you're offering." "I do," she whispered. "And I'm not afraid." A flicker of emotion crossed his face, hope, disbelief, hunger. But then the air between them shifted. The mark on her wrist flared to life and Kael flinched as if struck. His pupils narrowed to slits, gold bleeding into black. Seren gasped as the bond roared awake, pulling at her, through her. She felt his pain like a blade under her ribs, his desire like a fever that wasn't hers, and yet was. Kael staggered back, clutching his chest. "No, Seren, stop." "I'm not doing anything," she cried. The mark burned, a living brand. Their breaths synced, hearts pounding in the same rhythm. He fell to his knees. "It's the curse, it's feeding on the bond." She reached for him, but he caught her wrist, his grip trembling. "Don't. If you touch me again." She ignored him. Her hand cupped his face. "Then let it feed on me too." The world tilted. A surge of magic exploded outward, raw, blinding, electric. The torches snuffed out. For one endless heartbeat, Seren saw through his eyes, his memories, blood and ash and the howl of something ancient inside him. She saw herself through his gaze, the fragile light that had dared to reach for him in darkness. When the world righted itself, she was in his arms. His chest rose and fell against her ear, heartbeat like a war drum. "Seren?" His voice was rough, ragged. "If this continues, I'll lose control. Then teach me how to help you." He shook his head. "You can't. The beast isn't a thing to tame. It's hunger, rage, instinct, everything I was before I remembered mercy." Her voice softened. "Maybe it's time you remember mercy again." His lips parted, and for a second she thought he would speak, but instead he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, searing, claiming. The bond surged, wrapping around them like molten gold. Seren felt his heart beat through every part of her, his anguish, his longing, the depthless need to protect her even as he burned from within. And then she felt it shift. The magic, once warm, turned sharp. Kael broke the kiss, gasping. No, something's wrong. The mark on her wrist spread, veins of light crawling up her arm. Seren cried out. The room spun as magic tore through her veins. Kael caught her before she fell, his hands trembling. It's the curse, it's trying to use the bond to reach you. Pain lanced through her. Then break it. His voice broke. I can't. If I sever it, you'll die. Her vision blurred. The fire dimmed. The only thing anchoring her was his voice, raw, terrified, furious at fate itself. Stay with me, Seren. The mark flared one last time, then went still. Silence. Her body slumped against him, limp. Kael's breath came in harsh bursts. No, no, no. He pressed his forehead to hers, his voice breaking into a whisper. Please, not you too. A single tear slid down his cheek and fell onto her skin. Then, faintly, the mark pulsed again. What? Twice. Slow, steady, alive. Seren gasped. Air rushed back into her lungs. Kael froze, staring down at her. She opened her eyes weakly, managing a whisper. You can't get rid of me that easily. A ragged laugh escaped him, half relief, half disbelief. But behind that laugh, fear remained. Because now he knew, the curse was evolving. And whatever love had sparked between them was no longer a blessing. It was bait. Chapter 11. The Beast Beneath the Crown. Dawn came reluctant and gray, spilling weak light over the obsidian keep. The fire in Kael's chamber had long since burned down to embers, leaving behind a smell of smoke and iron. Seren lay still, her body heavy, her wrist marked with faint gold veins that glimmered beneath her skin like captured lightning. When she opened her eyes, Kael was standing by the window, bare-chested, his back turned to her. The pale morning light carved his silhouette into something half divine, half monstrous, the lines of muscle shifting beneath skin that shimmered faintly, like scales hidden beneath flesh. He was silent, motionless, his hand pressed against the cold glass. You're awake, she whispered, her voice hoarse. He didn't turn immediately. Barely. Seren sat up, the cloak sliding from her shoulders. Last night. Shouldn't have happened. His tone was clipped, controlled, every word a blade meant to sever what had bound them. Her heart stuttered. You kissed me. You nearly died, he countered. The curse used our bond to reach you. I can't let that happen again. Seren rose to her feet, ignoring the dizziness that followed. You can't undo what's been done. We're bound, Kael. You feel it as much as I do. He turned then, and the sight of him made her breath falter. His eyes glowed molten gold, but not just gold. Within their depths, a feral flicker pulsed, like the heartbeat of something ancient and untamed. Faint cracks of light spidered along his neck, and beneath his ribs the skin moved, as if something inside strained against its prison. Seren's instinct screamed to step back. She didn't. What's happening to you? The curse is waking, he said. Every time the bond strengthens, it feeds what's inside me. She crossed the distance between them, her voice soft but steady. Then we'll find a way to stop it. He laughed bitterly. You don't understand. The beast doesn't want to be stopped. It wants you. Her pulse quickened. Me? Kael closed his eyes as if saying it cost him everything. It's drawn to the bond's power, to your soul. The more I fight it, the more it turns on you. He turned his head slightly, jaw tight. When I'm near you, it stirs. It wants to claim you in every way the curse understands, blood, magic, flesh. Seren's breath caught. The air between them thickened, alive with heat and tension and danger. And what do you want? She asked quietly. For a moment, Kael's expression fractured, longing flickering through restraint. Then he stepped back. What I want doesn't matter. She reached for him. It matters to me. His hand shot out, catching hers midair. His touch was scorching, too warm, too alive. He held her there, trembling. You don't know what you're doing, he said hoarsely. Yes, she whispered, I do. Something in him cracked. The light beneath his skin flared, spilling across his chest like molten fire. His breath hitched, and then, the sound. A low, guttural growl rolled from deep within him, not entirely human. Seren froze. His fingers tightened around her wrist before he released her abruptly, stumbling back, eyes wide in horror. "Get out," he rasped. "No, Kael. Get out." The room trembled as his voice broke into a roar. The window shattered, shards scattering like starlight. Seren backed away, tears burning her eyes as he doubled over, clutching his chest. His spine arched, and for an instant she saw the outline of something immense unfurl behind him, wings or shadows that wanted to be wings. His breathing turned ragged, the glow beneath his skin intensifying. "Kael?" She ran to him, ignoring fear, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. His body was burning, muscles coiling like ropes under her palms. "Fight it," he gasped, head snapping up, eyes blazing. "You shouldn't." Her voice cut through the storm. "I don't care." The mark on her wrist ignited and the glow spread, threads of light weaving between them. The beast's growl faltered, the energy rippling, receding as if soothed by her presence. Kael collapsed against her, shuddering. For long moments the only sound was their breathing, the slow, shared rhythm that steadied both. When he spoke again, his voice was barely audible. "You calmed it." She brushed his hair back from his forehead, her touch gentle. "Then maybe I'm meant to." He lifted his gaze to hers, haunted, awed, afraid. "If you are, it will destroy you. Or free you," she murmured. Silence stretched between them, the air heavy with things neither dared name. Then Kael rose, pulling away from her embrace. "The curse is changing," he said, turning toward the window. "It's learning through me. Through us." Seren frowned. "What do you mean?" He glanced back, eyes dimming to a dull ember. "Lysandra doesn't need to attack. If she waits long enough, I'll do her work for her." Outside, the first horn of morning sounded from the city below, a warning. Kael's expression hardened. "The Bloodguard has moved. She's coming." Seren stood beside him, the mark on her wrist still glowing faintly. "Then let her come. We'll face her together." He turned his head slightly, a bitter smile ghosting his lips. "You sound like a queen already." "Maybe I'm starting to feel like one," she said softly. For a heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes, pride, fear, something that might one day be love. But the moment passed. He reached for his sword. "Then you'd better learn to survive like one." Chapter 12, The Queen of Shadows. That night the moon bled. It hung above the obsidian keep like an open wound, its crimson light spilling across the stones and setting the banners aflame with scarlet fire. The air was thick with the scent of iron and coming rain. Seren felt it before she heard it, the pulse of approaching danger. Her mark burned. "Something's wrong," she whispered. Kael was already moving. His instincts sharpened faster than thought, a blur of motion, a sword drawn, a growl low in his throat. "The wards are breaking." "Lysandra?" Seren's voice trembled. "Or worse." Without warning the tower shook. A sound like thunder split the air, followed by the hiss of magic tearing through stone. The candles guttered out, plunging them into a trembling dark. "Stay behind me," Kael ordered, voice low and dangerous. But Seren didn't move. The pulse of power under her skin had become unbearable, a rhythm not her own, a call that demanded answer. And when she looked down, the mark on her wrist wasn't just glowing. It was alive. Threads of silver light crawled across her skin, weaving patterns that shimmered like moonlit water. The air vibrated with it, a language older than words, older than even Kael's curse. "Seren," Kael turned, his eyes widening as he took her in. "What are you doing?" I don't know." The ground trembled again. Outside screams echoed. The Bloodguard had breached the outer walls. Kael grabbed her hand, his touch searing. "You have to stay hidden. If they find you, they'll kill you first," she shot back. Before he could reply, the great doors at the end of the corridor burst open. A tide of armored figures flooded in, their eyes glowing red with enchantment. The leader stepped forward, a tall woman with hair the color of smoke and eyes like coals. Her armor gleamed black as spilled oil. "Lysandra," Kael growled. Her smile was sharp as broken glass. "My cursed king." You've kept your pet healer well. Seren's breath caught. You. The sorceress tilted her head. Do you remember me, little one? You should. I was the one who sealed your bloodline. Seren's heart stumbled. My bloodline? Ah, he didn't tell you. Lysandra's voice was honey over steel. The last of the moon healers, the ones who could bind and unbind the beast itself. You were supposed to die centuries ago. Kael stepped in front of her, sword gleaming. You'll regret touching her. Lysandra laughed. Oh, Kael. I already do. You could have been magnificent if you'd just surrendered. With a flick of her hand, the air exploded. Kael was thrown backward, slamming into the wall. Stone cracked. Kael? Seren screamed, rushing to him, but the mark on her wrist flared again, stopping her mid-step. Lysandra's smile faltered. No. Silver light erupted around Seren, forming a circle that pulsed outward, pushing back the blood guard. The air shimmered with power, and the crimson hue of the moonlight shifted, deepened, until it turned a blinding white. What are you? Lysandra hissed. Seren's voice trembled, but it carried. You said it yourself. I'm the last of the moon healers. Kael groaned, struggling to rise, his eyes glowing gold through the blood on his face. Seren, don't. But the power had already taken her. The light from her mark surged, threading through her veins, spiraling up her arm until it wrapped around her heart. She felt the keep itself respond, the stones humming with memory, the wind whispering her name. Images flickered behind her eyes, wolves bowing under silver moons, women chanting in forgotten tongues, Kael's ancestors crowned in blood and sorrow. And beneath it all, a voice. Free him. The magic poured out of her in a rush. The blood guard screamed as light sliced through their enchantments. Their armor shattered, their bodies thrown backward as if struck by the hand of a god. Lysandra shielded herself, teeth bared. So that's what you are. Seren's knees buckled. The power was too much, too vast, too old. It burned and healed at once, filling every breath with pain and purpose. Kael caught her before she fell. Seren, look at me. Her eyes met his, wild, glowing silver. I can stop her, she gasped. I can end this. Not like this, he growled. She'll kill you. Then she'll have to catch me first. Seren raised her hand. The air rippled, and the broken shards of the shattered window lifted, spinning around her in a halo of glass and light. Lysandra sneered and struck, a blast of dark energy that ripped through the air. Seren answered with light. The two forces collided, the impact shaking the entire keep. Kael pulled her close, shielding her with his body as the explosion flung them both into the corridor. Dust and magic filled the air. When the world settled, Lysandra was gone, vanished into shadow, her laughter echoing through the night. Seren's light dimmed, fading back to a soft glow. She trembled in Kael's arms, exhaustion washing over her. He cradled her face in his hands, his voice breaking. You shouldn't have done that. She smiled faintly. You're welcome. He couldn't help it, he laughed, rough and disbelieving. Then his thumb brushed her cheek, and his laughter died into silence. Seren, he murmured. Every time you touch that power, you burn yourself a little more. Then I'll burn, she whispered, as long as it means you don't have to. The words hit him harder than any blow. He leaned in, forehead resting against hers, breath mingling. I can't lose you, he said. You won't, she whispered back. Not tonight. Outside, the moon turned pale again. But the echo of what had awakened still lingered, in the stones, in their blood, in the space between one heartbeat and the next. Because of that night, nothing in their world would ever be the same again. Chapter 13, Ashes and Echoes. Come morning, the keep no longer breathed, it bled. Ash drifted through the corridors like gray snow. The air smelled of burnt iron and broken oaths. Shattered chandeliers lay across the marble, their crystal fragments reflecting the ghost of the blood moon now fading into dawn. Seren moved through the wreckage in silence. Her limbs ached, her magic hung heavy inside her bones, and every breath carried the taste of smoke. The keep had survived, but barely. The battle's echo lingered, in the walls, in her pulse, in the way Kael hadn't said a single word since they'd found shelter in the West Wing. Now, as sunlight crept through cracked windows, he stood by the ruined balcony, staring down at the valley below. His shirt was torn, his skin streaked with blood and soot. But what unsettled her most wasn't the sight of his wounds, it was the stillness in him. Kael? Her voice was soft, hesitant. He didn't turn. They're gone. The blood guard? He nodded once. What's left of them? Lysandra will regroup. She always does. Then we have time. He laughed sharp hollow. Time? That's what you call this. Seren swallowed. You're angry with me. He turned at that, eyes glinting gold in the morning light. You nearly killed yourself, Seren. I saved you. For now. He stalked closer, the air shifting with his movement. Do you even know what you awakened last night? Her heart stumbled. I felt something. Something old. You called the moonfire, he said, voice low. The purest magic that ever existed. It burns everything it touches, even its wielder. You could have died? She cut in, chin lifting. Maybe. But so could you. So could we all. For a long moment neither spoke. Only the wind moved through the broken balcony doors, carrying the scent of rain and char. Then Kael's voice dropped to a whisper. You remind me of her. Seren blinked. Who? My mother. That stopped her cold. She'd never heard him speak of the queen, the one Lysandra had replaced, the one the songs called the Silver Wolf. She defied the council, Kael said, eyes distant. She believed mercy was strength. The others called it weakness. And it got her killed. Seren took a slow step closer. You think I'll end like her? I think you already have her heart, he said quietly. And that terrifies me. The confession hung between them like smoke. For a moment, Seren saw past the alpha, past the strength, past the fury, and glimpsed the man underneath. The boy who'd watched his kingdom fall. The exile who'd lived too long in shadow. She moved to him, her fingers brushing the back of his hand. You don't have to protect me from everything, Kael. His gaze flicked to hers. I'm not protecting you from the world, Seren. I'm protecting the world from me. Before she could reply, a low rumble tore through the air. Kael's body tensed, his pupils narrowing. His hands clenched, veins pulsing with gold light. Kael? He stepped back, breath ragged. Get away from me. What's happening? The curse? He gritted his teeth, dropping to one knee as his muscles trembled. It's breaking loose. Seren rushed to his side, ignoring his warning. Tell me what to do. His voice was strangled. You can't help this time. But she already was, pressing her hands against his chest, feeling the wild rhythm of his heart, the heat rolling off him in waves. Her mark burned in response. As if summoned, the bond between them flared, a silver thread winding through air, pulsing between their bodies. Kael gasped, his claws half-forming. Seren, no. She met his gaze, fierce and unyielding. You said it yourself. I carry the moonfire. Let me use it. He growled, the sound rough and inhuman. If you do, you'll burn. Then we'll burn together. Her words were fire and prayer all at once. She pressed her palm flat against his heart, and light exploded. The bond surged like a living thing. Magic screamed through the air, bending the light, warping the space around them. Seren felt his pain, his rage, his loneliness, all of it flooding through her. She saw flashes of his past, the night of his exile, the betrayal in Lysandra's eyes, the blood on his hands that wasn't his own. And beneath it all, the beast. It roared, vast and ancient, trapped in chains of gold and flame. Seren's voice trembled. You're not the monster. Kael's eyes blazed. You don't know what I am. I do, she whispered, pressing closer until their foreheads touched. You're the man who refused to give up. The one who still fights even when the world calls you a curse. The bond pulsed once more, hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. Then the gold light in his veins dimmed, replaced by the steady rhythm of breath. He sagged against her, exhausted. And she held him. For a while there was only silence. The kind that hummed with everything unsaid. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. You shouldn't have done that. Seren smiled faintly through her tears. You keep saying that. Maybe I like proving you wrong. Kael gave a low, shaky laugh, then reached up and brushed a lock of hair from her face. You're reckless, he murmured. You're cursed, she countered softly. Perfect match then. The faintest smile ghosted across his lips. And just like that, the tension broke, not gone but gentled, reshaped into something fragile and real. Still deep down, Seren knew the truth. This was only the calm before the next storm. Because far below the keep, in the shadowed halls where the moonlight could not reach, something ancient stirred, whispering her name. Chapter 14, The Wolf's Bargain. Night returned to the keep like a slow tide, silent and patient. Seren lay awake beside the faint glow of the hearth. The air smelled of smoke and rain. Kael slept restlessly near the edge of the bed, his body taut even in exhaustion, his brow shadowed by dreams she couldn't reach. The bond between them pulsed faintly, a thread of warmth and ache. Every time he stirred, it pulled against her chest, as if reminding her that her heart no longer beat for one. But tonight something else stirred. A whisper. Soft. Beckoning. From deep below the keep. Seren sat up, breath shallow. The voice was barely audible, more a vibration in her bones than a sound. Yet she knew it wasn't a dream. It carried the same rhythm as Kael's heartbeat, the same wild energy that had almost destroyed him that morning. Her fingers brushed the mark at her throat, the crescent that glowed faintly silver in the moonlight. Come. She rose quietly, dressing in a simple cloak and boots, careful not to wake him. His armor glinted faintly in the dim light, his hand resting near his sword even in sleep. Sleep, she whispered to him. I'll bring back what you need. She didn't know why she said it. Only that she meant it. The corridors were empty, haunted by echoes of the day's devastation. Her footsteps were soft against the stone as she descended the stairwells that spiraled beneath the keep, farther than she'd ever gone before. The whisper grew stronger. A feminine voice, low and silken. You would save him. Even from himself. Who are you? Seren murmured into the dark. The same question your alpha once asked. The torchlight flickered, and for a moment she thought she saw movement in the corner of her eye. A ripple, a shimmer, as though the air itself remembered what it once was. Then the stairs ended. She stood before a massive archway carved from obsidian, its surface engraved with lupin runes and moon sigils long faded. At its center, a symbol glowed faintly, the same mark at her throat. Her pulse quickened. She pressed her palm to it. The stone shivered, and the door opened. Inside was a cavern bathed in silver mist. Water dripped from the ceiling into a still pool that reflected the moonlight pouring through a crack high above. In the center stood a woman cloaked in shadow, her eyes pale as frost. Seren froze. Who? I am what remains, the woman said, her voice echoing like a song half remembered. Once they called me Selith, the Moon Oracle. You bear my mark. Seren's breath caught. Then you know how to help him. Selith tilted her head. The lost heir? The wolf who carries both curse and crown? Yes, I know his kind. I made them. You, Seren blinked. You made them? The first alphas, Selith said simply. Born from moonfire and shadow. But every gift demands a price. Seren took a hesitant step forward. Then tell me the price. Whatever it is, I'll pay it. The oracle smiled. Will you, little healer? Even if the cost is your heart. Seren didn't answer. Her silence was enough. Selith moved closer, the mist curling around her. He is bound by two forces, the curse that guards his soul and the bond that ties him to you. Break one and you free him. Break both. And he dies? Seren finished softly. The oracle's gaze gleamed. You learn quickly. But there is another way, a bargain older than the bond itself. You can absorb his curse. Seren felt her stomach twist. Take it into me? Selith nodded. The bond allows it. You carry the moonfire, pure enough to contain his darkness if you are willing. But you will never be the same. His fury, his hunger, his loneliness, all will become yours. You will live as his mirror, not his mate. Seren's throat tightened. Why would you offer me this? Selith's voice softened, almost tender. Because love is the only magic that still defies me. I want to see if it can win. For a long moment, only the drip of water filled the cavern. Seren's heart pounded in her ears. The image of Kael's face, bruised, haunted, proud, filled her mind. The way his voice broke when he said he feared his own power. The way he trembled when she touched him. "I'll do it," she whispered. The oracle's smile deepened, both sorrowful and knowing. "Then kneel." Seren obeyed. Selith raised her hands, and the mist thickened into a spiral of silver light. It circled Seren's body, sinking into her skin like liquid starlight. The pain came next, sharp, searing, holy. Seren gasped as the bond flared, burning from her chest to her fingertips. She saw Kael in her mind's eye, asleep, his body jerking as if feeling her agony through the link. Her scream echoed through the cavern, but she didn't stop. When the light faded, she collapsed to the floor, trembling. Her veins glowed faintly with gold and silver light entwined. Selith knelt beside her. "It is done. The curse now sleeps within you, waiting to wake." Seren's vision blurred. "And Kael? He will wake free. But the wolf will hunger for balance. For you." Seren swallowed, fighting tears. "Then let him find me." Selith's eyes glinted with something unreadable, pity perhaps. "He will. But remember this, child, the curse you carry does not serve love. It consumes it." Then the oracle was gone, leaving only mist and silence. Seren stumbled to her feet, heart pounding, the mark at her throat burning brighter than ever. When she returned to the keep, the torches flickered as she passed, as though bowing to something older than the moon. Kael woke as she entered, his eyes clear, his aura calm for the first time in years. He looked at her, startled, as if seeing her for the first time. "What did you do?" he whispered. Seren forced a trembling smile. "I saved you." But the moment his fingers brushed hers, he flinched. His golden eyes widened, and for an instant, just one, they reflected something dark, feral, and hers. The wolf was awake. Inside her. Chapter 15. The Hunger Between. Dawn bled over the obsidian keep like a slow wound. The rain had stopped sometime before sunrise, leaving the world washed and trembling, the scent of wet stone and pine seeping through the cracked windows. Seren sat by the hearth, hands clenched around a cup of cold tea, her eyes unfocused. Kael moved about the room behind her. His footsteps were sure now, no longer the hesitant tread of a man burdened by shadows. Every movement felt lighter, steadier, free. It should have filled her with relief. It didn't. Every breath she took burned faintly. Her pulse felt too strong, her skin too aware of the world around her, as if she had stepped into someone else's body. His body. "You haven't slept," Kael said quietly. His voice was softer now, stripped of the growl it once carried. "You've been awake all night." Seren managed a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Neither have you." He stopped near her, looking down. The firelight painted him in molten gold and shadow. He looked more alive than she'd ever seen him, and that alone made her chest tighten. "Something's changed," he murmured. Seren's hand trembled slightly on the cup. "You're better? That's what matters." Kael crouched in front of her, his gaze searching her face. "No, not just me. You too." He lifted a hand as if to brush her cheek, and she flinched, not from fear but from the sudden heat that surged up her spine. The bond pulsed between them, sharp and bright. Kael's hand froze in midair. "What was that?" Seren forced her voice to stay steady. "Residual magic. It'll fade." He didn't believe her. She saw it in the furrow of his brow, the faint tension at his jaw. But he said nothing. Instead, he rose and turned away. "The council gathers today," he said after a moment. "Lysandra's spies will expect me broken. They'll find I'm not." His tone was quiet, but there was steel beneath it. The Alpha had returned. Seren should have felt proud. But the moment he left the room, the silence pressed down like a living thing. And then she heard it, faint, distant, a growl beneath her heartbeat. "What?" Seren gasped, clutching her chest. The voice was deep, familiar, and terrible in its intimacy. "No," she whispered. "Not you." But the wolf, his wolf, stirred within her, prowling through her blood like liquid heat. It wasn't violent, not yet. It was hungry. Hungry for the touch she denied herself. Hungry for him. Her reflection in the mirror caught her eye, and for an instant her irises glowed with molten gold. She staggered back. What have I done? Kael stood before the council that afternoon, the grand hall echoing with murmurs and disbelief. The nobles, the betas, the guard, all stared as the once broken alpha strode to the throne dais, his eyes bright, his presence commanding. Lysandra's banner still hung above, crimson silk embroidered with the sigil of the serpent. Kael's jaw tightened at the sight. Seren stood beside him, her hood drawn low, the healer's mark on her wrist hidden by leather straps. When Kael's voice filled the chamber, it was not loud, but it carried. "You told my people I was dead," he said, his gaze fixed on Lysandra where she sat on her false throne. "That my curse made me unfit to lead. You ruled through fear, through deceit. But the moon's bond does not lie." Lysandra's lips curved in a serpent's smile. "And what proof have you, my dear stepson? The word of a peasant girl?" Seren's blood burned. She could feel the wolf stir again at the insult, a low, warning growl rumbling through her chest before she caught it, swallowing the sound. Kael noticed. His eyes flicked to her briefly, a flicker of concern or perhaps something more primal. "The bond speaks for itself," he said, turning back to Lysandra. "You can feel it, can't you? The moon's power restored." Lysandra's expression didn't change, but her aura pulsed faintly, irritation. "Careful, Kael. A single night's calm does not cure a lifetime of beasts. And your bond." She tilted her head towards Seren. "It feels wrong." Seren froze. Lysandra's gaze sharpened. "Oh yes, I can sense it now. Something's been tampered with." Her smile widened, cold and beautiful. "Tell me, little healer, what did you trade for your alpha's soul?" Seren couldn't breathe. The wolf inside her snarled, pacing, straining to rise. Kael stepped forward, his voice low and dangerous. "Enough." Lysandra only laughed, a soft, silken sound that curled like smoke through the hall. "Ah, so it's true then. You wear the curse for him." Kael turned sharply toward Seren, eyes wide. "What?" The room tilted. The wolf in her blood roared. The runes on her wrist flared to life, gold searing through leather. The power burst from her like fire. The council gasped. Flames streaked across the marble floor in a ring encircling her. The wolf's growl filled the hall, not from Kael but from her. Seren dropped to her knees, trembling, vision fracturing between light and shadow. She could feel Kael through the bond, confusion, fear, fierce protectiveness, and beneath it all, recognition. She met his eyes through the haze. "I took it," she choked out. "I took your curse. You're free." Kael's expression shattered, disbelief, pain, rage all at once. "Seren," his voice broke. "What have you done?" "I couldn't let it take you again." The firelight flared between them, golden and wild. Then Lysandra's voice sliced through the chaos, sharp and gleeful. "Oh, how poetic. The healer becomes the beast. Tell me, my king, can you still love her now that she wears your monster's face?" Kael turned to the council, fury radiating from him like heat. "Leave us." But Lysandra only smiled, rising from her throne with the grace of a serpent shedding its skin. "Careful, Kael. You may find the monster doesn't want to be saved." Then she was gone, her laughter echoing off the stone. Kael dropped to Seren's side, hands trembling as he reached for her. The flames died at his touch, but her skin still burned, fevered and trembling. He pressed his forehead to hers. "You should have told me." Tears slid down her cheeks, hot as blood. "Would you have let me?" Kael said nothing. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close despite the heat that scorched his palms. Through the bond she felt his heart, steady, strong, and beneath it, a whisper she couldn't tell was his or hers anymore. What? Chapter 16. The Mirror of the Moon. The moon rose before its time. By the hour it should have still hidden behind the ridge, veiled in storm clouds, but there it was, silver and swollen, hanging above the keep like an unblinking eye. Seren felt it the moment it appeared. The pulse beneath her skin quickened, answering that ancient light. Her bones ached with the pull of it, her breath catching in ragged bursts. Kael had carried her from the council hall himself, his arms strong despite the scorch marks that marred his wrists. Now she lay upon the furs of his chamber, sweat cooling against her temple, the world spinning in molten flashes. The room smelled of pine and rain and steel, his scent steadying her even as her heart raced. When Kael spoke, his voice trembled only slightly. "You took it, my curse." Seren tried to look at him, but the room swayed. "You would have died, Kael. The poison in your blood, it was eating through your wolf. I had to draw it out." He paced before the hearth, every movement carved with tension. "You didn't draw it out. You took it. You bonded it to yourself. Because of that you're free," she whispered. Kael's eyes flashed, gold shot through storm gray. "Free?" He turned on her, his voice a growl. "You think this is freedom? Watching you burn because of me?" Seren tried to rise, but her limbs felt heavy, the bond thrumming with wild energy. "Kael, listen." "No." He knelt before her, cupping her face with trembling hands. His voice broke on her name. "You were never meant to bear this. It was my curse, my punishment. Not yours." She smiled faintly through the pain. "Maybe it was both of ours. You couldn't control the beast. I couldn't stop running from mine." His jaw tightened. "Don't romanticize damnation, Seren." A silence stretched between them, heavy as the night outside. Then without warning she gasped. The wolf within her lunged, her vision bleeding gold. "Seren?" Kael caught her shoulders. "Stay with me." Her nails dug into the furs, a snarl tearing from her throat before she could stop it. Her skin rippled under his hands, fur threatening to break through. The bond between them pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, wild and uncontrollable. Kael's eyes widened. "The curse, it's binding to you completely." "Then help me control it," she choked. "Please." He hesitated only a moment, then pressed his palm over her heart. The world narrowed to that single point of contact. Heat flared, bright and blinding. She could feel his pulse merging with hers, the tether between them tightening until she could taste his breath, feel his thoughts brushing the edge of her mind. "Steady, Seren. Breathe with me." Her lips parted. "Kael, I can hear you." "Then listen." His voice, not sound but soul, threaded through her. And just like that the wolf quieted. For the first time since the ritual, her body stilled. The trembling ceased. The fire dimmed to embers. Kael exhaled shakily. His forehead rested against hers. "That's it. You're safe." Her voice was a whisper. "For how long?" He didn't answer. Later, when the moon had climbed higher, Seren found herself standing before the mirror in his chamber. It was ancient, framed in silver filigree, its surface rippling faintly as though alive. Kael had called it the Mirror of the Moon, a relic of the first Alpha line. "Show me what you see," she murmured, tracing its edge. The reflection shimmered. And then she wasn't looking at herself anymore. A woman appeared in the glass, pale hair flowing, eyes like molten gold. Her smile was both tender and cruel. "Lysandra," Seren breathed. The reflection tilted its head. "You've taken what isn't yours, little healer." Seren's pulse spiked. "Get out of my mind." But Lysandra's voice echoed like silk against stone. "Oh, but your mind isn't yours anymore, is it? You share it now with something far older." Seren's reflection changed again. The eyes in the mirror burned brighter. The woman's mouth curled, but this time the smile was hers. She stumbled back. "No." The wolf's voice growled inside her, soft and possessive. "We are one." Kael appeared behind her, catching her as she swayed. "What did you see?" Her breath trembled. "She's watching me through it. Through this." He pulled her back from the mirror, his expression dark. "Then we destroy it." But before he could move, the surface of the glass rippled again, and Kael froze. From the mirror's depths, another image formed. A throne room. Blood on the marble. Lysandra stood over a kneeling figure, Kael's old friend, Captain Darius, chains digging into his skin. Seren's stomach dropped. She has him. Kael's hands clenched into fists. She means to draw me out. "Then don't go," Seren pleaded. It's a trap. He looked at her then, the bond between them humming, gold and fragile. If she kills him, his blood will open the gate beneath the keep. The beast she worships will rise. I can't let that happen. Her voice broke. Then I'm coming with you. No, his tone softened. You can't control the wolf yet. Her eyes flashed. Then teach me, or watch me follow you anyway. For a heartbeat, silence hung between them, thick, electric, dangerous. Then Kael exhaled, a reluctant smile ghosting his lips. You never did know how to obey. Not when it comes to you. The tension between them snapped like a drawn bowstring. He closed the distance between them, slow, deliberate. When his lips brushed hers, it wasn't the hungry claiming of before. It was softer, weighted with all the words neither could say. And yet, beneath the tenderness, the bond flared, a pulse of wild heat, of something ancient and inevitable. Seren trembled. Kael? His hand tightened at her waist. The moon's rising higher. Whatever happens tonight, don't fight it. Trust me. Her heart thudded once hard. I do. He smiled, and for a moment the curse, the danger, the prophecy, all of it, faded beneath the simple truth of that look. But as they turned from the mirror, neither saw the reflection twist, showing not their faces, but two wolves intertwined in silver fire. And beneath them, in the depths of the glass, something vast began to stir. Chapter 17. The Gate Beneath the Keep. The keep was silent, too silent. Even the wind had gone still, as though holding its breath. Only the sound of Kael's boots echoed softly against the stone as he led Seren down the spiral stair. The torches lining the passage flickered blue, reacting to the moon's unnatural rise. Shadows moved in ways they shouldn't, stretching long and alive along the walls. Seren walked close behind him, her cloak drawn tight, her fingers brushing the hilt of the dagger he'd given her. The air was thick with the scent of old blood and wet earth. Kael stopped before a heavy iron door at the base of the stair. Strange runes glowed faintly along its surface, ancient, predating even the Alpha bloodlines. This is it, he murmured. The gate. Seren's voice was barely audible. It's older than the keep. He nodded. Older than this kingdom. Older than me. Her eyes traced the carvings, beasts locked in battle, a moon split down the middle. What happens if she opens it? Kael's jaw tightened. Then every soul bound to the moon will lose their will. Will become what the first wolves were, weapons. Slaves. A chill rippled through her. And Darius? He closed his eyes briefly, guilt shadowing his features. He was the one who found this place with me. If she has him, she'll use his blood to finish what I started. Seren frowned. You started this? Kael met her gaze. When I was cursed, the bond between the moon and the beast fractured. I came here seeking a way to undo it. Instead, I woke something I couldn't control. He pressed his palm to the runes. The door shuddered, a low hum filling the air. Kael? He turned to her, eyes burning gold in the torchlight. When we go through, it will try to speak to you. Promise me you won't listen. Her throat went dry. What do you mean it? But before he could answer, the door yawned open with a groan that echoed through the keep like a dying scream. Cold wind poured out, and with it, whispers. They stepped inside. The chamber beyond was vast, a cathedral carved from the bones of the earth. Pillars of obsidian rose like fangs around a sunken pit at its center. And there, bound in chains of silver and blood, knelt Darius. He was barely recognizable, his once proud frame trembling, his eyes hollow. Blood dripped from his wrists into a sigil carved into the floor. Standing over him was Lysandra. Her beauty was a weapon, sharp, luminous, terrible. Moonlight clung to her like a lover, her pale hair floating as though underwater. Kael, she purred. I wondered how long it would take you to come crawling back. Kael drew his sword, its edge glowing faintly with runic light. Release him. Lysandra laughed, soft and cruel. You always were predictable. Her gaze slid to Seren. And you brought your little healer. How quaint. Tell me, does she know what you are? Seren's hand went to her dagger. He's more man than monster, which is more than I can say for you. Lysandra's eyes flashed. bold. You'll die slowly for that, girl. Kael stepped forward, blocking Seren with his arm. You'll have to go through me first. Lysandra's smile widened. Gladly. She lifted her hand, and the sigil flared. Darius screamed as his blood ignited, silver fire racing along the lines carved in the stone. The ground trembled. The pillars began to pulse with light, feeding the sigil's hunger. Kael? Seren cried. She's opening it. He lunged, but Lysandra was already moving, her power slamming into him like a storm. He hit the ground hard, sliding across the stone. Seren ran to him, but before she could reach him, a shadow rose from the pit, vast, formless, ancient. A voice filled the chamber. At last, the moon's chosen returns. Seren froze. The sound was inside her mind, deep, commanding, inhuman. Kael forced himself to his feet. Don't listen to it, he shouted. But it was too late. The voice coiled around her thoughts like smoke. You carry my blood, little wolf. Let me in. Pain lanced through her chest. Her knees hit the stone, breath shattering. Kael's roar shook the chamber. Seren. He ran to her, catching her before she could fall into the pit. Her eyes glowed, gold overlaid with silver, the mark of the beast stirring within. Kael, she gasped. It's inside. I've got you. He pressed his forehead to hers. Fight it. You're stronger than it. The bond between them flared, white-hot, pulsing with shared pain. Images flashed through Seren's mind, a moon bleeding light, a wolf made of shadow, Kael bound in chains of fire. And beneath it all, a voice whispering, you cannot cage what you were born to be. Seren screamed, a sound that wasn't entirely human. Her body convulsed. Light exploded from her skin, shattering the sigil's hold. Lysandra staggered back, eyes wide. No, impossible. Kael shielded Seren as the chamber quaked. You woke something you can't control, he snarled. Lysandra's laughter turned wild. Oh, but that's the point. She vanished in a burst of light, leaving only the echo of her voice behind. When the tremors ceased, Kael looked down at Seren. Her eyes had gone dark again, her breathing shallow. Seren, he whispered. Stay with me. She stirred weakly. Did we stop it? His gaze drifted to the pit. The sigil was broken, but the air still pulsed faintly, as if something beneath the stone was awake now, waiting. Not yet, he said softly. But we slowed it. Her hand found his. Then we keep fighting. Kael's eyes softened, full of a love he could no longer deny. Together. Above them, the moon burned brighter, and far below, the first cracks began to form in the gate. Chapter 18, Ash and Oath. Smoke coiled through the broken chamber like the ghost of a fire. Everything smelled of blood and ash. Seren stirred in Kael's arms, her lashes fluttering open. For a moment she didn't remember where she was, only that the air was thick, metallic, humming faintly with the residue of power. Then memory hit her. The pit. The voice. Lysandra's smile. She jolted upright and Kael caught her gently. Easy, he murmured. You're safe. She shook her head. No one's safe. Not if that thing is still beneath us. He looked toward the pit, now sealed by a web of fractured stone. Faint cracks glowed like dying embers. It's bound again. For now. For now. Her voice was bitter. That's not comfort, Kael. That's delay. He met her gaze, his eyes shadowed. I'll take delay over loss. The sincerity in his tone struck her silent. For a long moment neither spoke. The torches flickered weakly, casting trembling light over Darius's still form. Seren tore away from Kael and ran to the fallen man. Darius. His breathing was shallow, his body marked with burns where the sigil had touched him. She pressed trembling fingers to his neck, a pulse faint but steady. He's alive. Kael joined her, crouching at Darius's side. His jaw clenched as he took in the damage. He shouldn't be. The ritual should have drained him completely. Then maybe something stopped it. He looked at her, really looked. You stopped it. Seren's throat tightened. I didn't mean to. It just happened. Kael touched her wrist lightly, reverently. The bond between us magnifies what we are. My strength. Your light. You broke the sigil because you believed you could. She almost laughed, a bitter, disbelieving sound. I didn't believe, Kael. I was terrified. He smiled faintly. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's what you do despite it. Their eyes met, and the air shifted again, soft and electric. For an instant, the beast inside him stirred. He felt it, the pull of her pulse, the scent of her skin, the power in her presence that called to his hunger. He looked away before the gold in his irises could flare. Help me move him, he said roughly. Together they lifted Darius, laying him against one of the broken pillars. Seren pulled herbs from her satchel, crushed them with trembling fingers, and began whispering healing words she hadn't used since her mentor's death. As the mixture steamed against Darius's wounds, Kael watched her, the steady rhythm of her movements, the precision of her care. She was fire and mercy in the same breath. He used to be your friend, she said quietly. Kael nodded. Brother in arms. We trained together before the wars. He believed in me even when I stopped believing in myself. And now, he exhaled. Now he's a reminder of everything I failed to protect. Seren looked up at him, soft but unyielding. Then protect what's left. The words hit him deeper than she could know. A faint groan drew their attention, Darius stirring, eyelids flickering open. His voice was hoarse, cracked. You came back. Kael crouched beside him. You didn't make it easy. A broken smile ghosted across Darius's face. Never did. Then his gaze found Seren. Confusion, then something close to awe crossed his expression. You're the one who broke it. I felt it, light tearing through the dark. Seren flushed faintly. I didn't do it alone. No, Darius rasped. But you did what none of us could. You changed the bond. Kael frowned. What do you mean? Darius's voice dropped. When the sigil shattered, I heard the gate speak. Knows you now. Both of you. It's tethered to your souls. Seren's heart froze. Tethered? He nodded weakly. The bond you share, it's part of the seal now. If either of you falls, the gate opens again. Silence fell heavy and cold. Seren turned to Kael. So if you die, it rises. He finished the thought grimly. And if you die, I become what I was cursed to be. Her stomach twisted. So we're cursed together. Kael's eyes softened. Or freed together. For a heartbeat, something warm flickered between them, fragile hope amid ruin. Then Darius coughed, blood on his lips. Lysandra won't stop here. She'll go for the crown of the moon next. It amplifies the gate's call. If she gets it, she won't. Kael's tone was steel. She might already be on her way, Darius whispered. She has the blood guard and the High Council bends to her will. You'll need allies, not ghosts. Kael rose slowly. Then I'll raise more than allies. His gaze drifted to the shadows around the chamber. I'll raise the forgotten. Seren frowned. The forgotten? He turned to her, his expression unreadable. The alphas who fell with me, bound in exile, sleeping beneath the old forests. They'll fight for a new moon if I call them. Darius looked stricken. You'll wake them? Kael, you don't control them anymore. The beast in you is their leash. Kael's voice was quiet but firm. Then I'll risk it. Seren rose, anger and fear tangling in her voice. You'll risk everything. If you lose control. I won't, he said. Not while you're with me. That silenced her, not because she believed him but because she wanted to. The silence stretched. The torches hissed, their light trembling. Finally, Seren stepped closer, her expression torn between fury and longing. Then swear it, Kael. Swear you won't become what she thinks you are. He met her gaze. His hand rose slowly, not to touch but to hover, trembling near her face. I swear on the fire in my blood, he said softly, and on the bond that ties us. I will not fall, not to her, not to the beast, not while I still breathe. Her breath caught. The air around them shimmered faintly, the vow binding itself like invisible light. Seren whispered, Then I'll hold you to it, Alpha. For the first time he smiled, a real smile fragile as dawn. Then let's start with finding her before the next moonrise. Behind them, the cracks in the stone pulsed faintly, unseen. Far below, the gates stirred, whispering in the dark. One fire. One heart. One fall. Chapter 19. The Call of the Forgotten. The night air outside the keep was colder than Seren expected, sharp, biting, and scented with the metallic tang of rain. The forest stretched around them like a living shadow, every branch whispering of secrets that should have stayed buried. Kael stood at the edge of the cliff, cloak whipping in the wind. The moon had not yet risen, but its light pressed faintly at the horizon, a bruise of silver waiting to bloom. Seren joined him quietly. "You really mean to wake them, don't you?" He didn't turn. "I don't have a choice." "You always have a choice." Her voice was steady, though her heart thundered. "You could rest. Plan. Gather strength." He looked over his shoulder, eyes burning faint gold. "Rest while she hunts? While the gate still hums beneath our feet? No, Seren. If Lysandra calls her armies before I do, everything we've fought for dies with the dawn." She stepped closer. "Then tell me how this works. What happens when you call them?" Kael exhaled, a low sound that was part sigh, part growl. "I'll bleed for them. My blood carries the Alpha's mark, the bond of command. But it's not enough to call the living. The forgotten sleep beyond the veil, in the old woods where moonlight never fades." Her brow furrowed. "Beyond the veil, as in death?" "Not death. Not life. Something between." His gaze drifted to the forest. "They fell with me during the wars. The curse chained them to me. When I was exiled, so were they. I can summon their spirits, but if I do—" He hesitated. "What happens, Kael?" His voice lowered to a near whisper. "They'll remember who they were. And what I did to them." Seren's chest tightened. "Then maybe they'll remember why you did it." "Maybe." He smiled faintly. "Or maybe they'll tear me apart." She wanted to say something to stop him, but before she could move, Kael drew a knife from his belt, obsidian black, carved with runes that seemed to drink light. "Kael?" He pressed the blade against his palm and dragged it slowly, deliberately. Blood welled up, bright as garnet in the dimness. The wind howled. The forest went still. He knelt, pressing his bloodied hand to the earth. "By the bond of moon and marrow," he whispered, "by the names bound to my own, I call thee. Rise from shadow, rise from sleep. The moon remembers you, and so do I." The ground trembled. Seren stepped back instinctively, her heart pounding. Roots twisted beneath the soil, curling like serpents. The air thickened with the scent of rain and iron. Then voices. Soft at first like sighs through the trees. Then louder. Shapes emerged from the mist. Men and women draped in ghostly armor, their eyes glimmering faint silver. Some were scarred, others whole, all bound by the same ethereal glow. "The forgotten," Seren breathed. Kael rose slowly, blood dripping from his fingers. The specters surrounded him in a widening circle. Their leader, a broad man with hair like iron and eyes that flickered red, stepped forward. "Kael Drenhar," he said, the name cutting through the night like a blade. "You call us again." Kael inclined his head. "Terran. It's been a long sleep." "Sleep?" Terran's voice carried both scorn and grief. "You chained us here. Bound our souls to your curse. You left us to rot in silence. I left you because I had no choice. There's always a choice." Seren's hand twitched toward Kael's arm, but he didn't flinch under the accusation. "Then hear mine now," Kael said. "Lysandra seeks the crown of the moon. If she claims it, every soul you ever fought to protect will burn. I can't stop her alone." Terran's expression darkened. "So now you remember we exist?" "I never forgot." The air crackled with tension. For a long moment the ghost said nothing. Then Terran's gaze shifted, to Seren. "And who is she?" Kael's jaw tightened. "She's the reason you still have a world to come back to." That earned a murmur among the spirits. Seren straightened, refusing to look away. "I broke the gate's hold," she said. "And I'll break her crown if I must. But we need you. All of you." Terran studied her, eyes narrowing. "A mortal?" "She carries my bond," Kael said quietly. "That changed everything." The circle of spirits rippled, voices rising in disbelief. The bond? Seren hissed. You bound a mortal to the curse? She did it herself, Kael said, his tone sharp. And she survived it. Then she's either blessed by the moon or doomed by it, Seren muttered. Maybe both, Seren said. For a moment the ghost almost smiled. You've got teeth, little healer. She tilted her chin. And claws if I need them. Kael's lips twitched despite the tension. The wind shifted again and the spirits began to waver, their edges fading like mist. Seren's voice echoed through the darkness. You'll have our aid, Alpha, but not for free. When the crown falls, our oaths end. You will release us. Forever. Kael hesitated. The weight of that promise was immense. Seren whispered, Kael? He looked at her and nodded. You have my word. The circle glowed brighter. The wind roared through the trees, scattering leaves like sparks. One by one the spirits sank into the earth, their essence fusing with the soil, the air, the night itself. When the last one vanished, the forest went silent again. Kael stood motionless, his breathing shallow. Seren stepped to his side. You just promised to unbind them. What happens when you do? He turned to her slowly. Then I die. Her blood ran cold. You what? The curse binds me to their souls. If I free them, I go with them. Seren grabbed his arm. No. There has to be another way. There isn't. His eyes were soft, sad. But if I fall, the gate stays closed. That's enough. Tears burned behind her eyes. You can't decide that for me. I already did, he murmured. For a heartbeat, neither breathed. The bond between them pulsed, sharp, aching, alive. Then, without another word, Kael turned toward the path leading into the dark. We leave at dawn. Seren stood frozen, her pulse roaring in her ears. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled like a blade. Then dawn will have to wait. Chapter 20, Moonfire and Blood. The keep slept, but Seren could not. Rain whispered against the old stones, soft and ceaseless, like the world itself exhaling. Somewhere deep in the hall below, the hearth still burned, its embers glowing faintly, a heartbeat in the dark. Kael's words haunted her. Then I die. She lay on her side, eyes open, staring at the pale curve of moonlight spilling through the cracked window. Her thoughts spun like leaves caught in a storm. She'd seen the way he spoke those words, calm, steady, resigned. As if dying for the world was the most natural thing in it. But to her it wasn't noble. It was unbearable. And just like that she knew what she had to do. Quietly, Seren slipped from the bed. The cold floor bit into her bare feet. She pulled her cloak around her shoulders and moved through the corridors, her breath ghosting in the dark. Downstairs, the firelight flickered across the walls, stretching long, trembling shadows. The keep was ancient, older than any kingdom she'd known, and it felt alive. She hesitated at the door, glancing once toward the upper hall where Kael slept. Her chest ached. Then, without another thought, she slipped outside. The rain hit her instantly, cold, silver, alive. It soaked her hair, her cloak, her skin, until she felt like part of the storm itself. Seren made her way down the narrow trail behind the keep, the one that wound toward the heart of the forest. The earth was slick, roots twisting beneath her boots, branches clawing at her sleeves. Every step pulsed with the bond, faint but insistent, as though Kael's heartbeat echoed somewhere far behind her. Don't feel me? Not yet. She reached the old shrine near the riverbank, a circle of stones overgrown with moss. Moon symbols carved deep into the rock shimmered faintly under the rain. It was here that the old witches had gathered before the wars, calling on Moonfire, the living essence of the goddess herself. Dangerous, forbidden, but also powerful enough to unbind any curse. She dropped to her knees before the altar. Moon Mother, she whispered, if ever you watched me, hear me now. The air shifted, a low hum beneath the rain. She swallowed hard and drew her dagger, the same one Kael had given her when they first fled the city. The blade gleamed with faint silver light. I ask not for power, she said softly, but for a chance to save him. Her hand trembled. Then she dragged the knife across her palm. The blood that fell glowed faintly, not red but white, like moonlight in liquid form. It hissed when it hit the stone. The forest stirred. Wind rushed through the trees, carrying whispers that weren't words but felt like meaning. The runes on the shrine flared brighter and brighter, until the night itself seemed to breathe. Seren. The voice came from everywhere at once, old, soft, sorrowful. Seren's heart hammered. You hear me? I always have. Her breath caught. Then help me. He's cursed, bound to the dead. If he frees them, he dies. I need to break it. The air shimmered, and in the light she saw a shape forming. A woman cloaked in starlight, her eyes deep as the sea. The Moon Mother. Child of the mortal flame, the goddess murmured, you tread paths not meant for the living. I don't care. Love blinds you. Then let me be blind. Seren's voice broke. Please. For a long moment the goddess said nothing. Then she extended a hand, her fingers pale and glowing. There is a way. But it demands more than blood. Seren's breath shuddered. What does it demand? Moonfire. Life bound to death. You must touch the curse's core, in his soul, and take it into your own. Seren froze. That would kill me. Or change you. Into what? The goddess's eyes gleamed. Something neither wolf nor woman. Something the world has not seen in ages. Seren's throat tightened. Would it save him? It would free him. But freedom is not peace. Do you understand what you ask? Seren nodded slowly. I do. The goddess smiled faint sad. Then take what you came for. The air split open in light. A small orb hovered above the altar, molten silver, pulsing with a rhythm that matched her own heartbeat. Seren reached out. The moment her fingers brushed it, pain lanced through her body, hot, electric, merciless. She gasped, collapsing to her knees as the energy surged through her veins. Moonfire. It seared her from the inside, burning through flesh and bone, rewriting her in ways she couldn't comprehend. Her vision blurred. The world tilted. She saw flashes, Kael's eyes gold in the firelight, his hand reaching for hers, the mark that burned between them. Then darkness. When she woke, she wasn't alone. A shadow crouched beside her, face half hidden by the rain. Little wolf, the figure whispered. You shouldn't have come here. Seren blinked, disoriented. Who? The stranger stepped into the moonlight. Pale hair. Eyes like smoke. Lysandra. Did you think the Moon Mother's voice belonged only to you? The witch purred. She hears me too. Seren tried to stand, but her limbs wouldn't obey. The moonfire still burned in her veins, wild and uncontained. Lysandra smiled. How sweet. You took his curse into yourself, didn't you? You think that makes you brave. But all it makes you is mine. She raised a hand. The mark on Seren's wrist flared, then shifted, darkening, twisting into something unfamiliar. Seren gasped, clutching her arm. What did you? Lysandra leaned close, her breath cold against Seren's ear. You've just given me the key I needed. When the moon rises again, I'll claim him, and you'll open the gate for me. Then in a shimmer of smoke she was gone. Seren lay trembling in the mud, rain washing her blood away, her pulse thundering with a new rhythm, not Kael's. Something darker. Something ancient. The forest was silent again, save for the whisper of her name on the wind. Seren, oh my. And just like that, everything changed. Chapter 21, The Mark Turns. The Bloodmoon's End. Kael woke to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that roars in your ears because something vital is missing. The bond. He felt it at once, the emptiness where Seren's heartbeat should be echoing through his soul. It was faint, twisted, as though something had wrapped around it and squeezed. He threw on his armor before his mind caught up. The keep stones groaned beneath his boots as he stormed through the corridors. Seren. Only his voice answered him. Then faint, distant, a pulse of pain. Not his own. Hers. Kael's chest clenched. He staggered, gripping the wall. The scent of rain and iron filled his lungs, and through the bond he saw a flicker. Moonlight on wet moss, a broken shrine, blood glowing like silver. He was already moving before the image faded. By the time he reached the forest, dawn was bleeding into the sky. The ground steamed, mist curling through the trees. And there, collapsed near the riverbank, was Seren. He dropped to his knees beside her, hands trembling as he touched her face. Her skin burned hot, her pulse erratic. "Seren," he whispered. "What did you do?" Her eyes fluttered open. For a moment he saw the girl he knew, fierce, stubborn, alive. Then her gaze shifted and something else looked back. "Kael?" Her voice cracked. She used me. The curse, it's in me now." He froze. "What?" Her palm trembled as she raised it. The bond mark shimmered, then split, half gold, half black, the edges crawling like living ink. Lysandra's laughter rippled through the air, faint but everywhere. "Your love is such a sweet weakness, Kael." He lifted his head, growling low. "Show yourself." Mist thickened into form. Lysandra stepped from the shadows, pale and perfect, her eyes gleaming like mercury. "She carries my blood now," the witch said softly. "When the blood moon rises, her heart will open the gate, and every dead wolf in your cursed line will rise to serve me." Kael rose to his full height, golden eyes blazing. "You'll touch her over my corpse." Lysandra smiled. "That was always the plan." The forest erupted. Dark wolves poured from the trees, half-formed spirits, their eyes burning white. Kael drew his sword in one motion, the blade singing as it caught firelight. He moved like fury itself, a blur of silver and flame, cutting through the wraiths as Seren struggled to her feet. The moonfire within her flared in answer, silver sparks spiraling from her hands. For a heartbeat, Kael saw her not as human, but divine. "Seren," he shouted, "run." She shook her head. "Not again." Together they turned to face the tide. Steel met shadow. Moonfire met darkness. And though the forest trembled and the air split with their roars, Lysandra only smiled, for the blood moon was coming. Chapter 22, The Blood Moon Rises. Night fell red. The moon rose swollen and veined, its light a living pulse. The curse, every fragment buried in the earth, began to stir. Kael and Seren stumbled through the ruins of the old fortress, the air thick with energy. Behind them, the dead howled, wolves of every generation, bound by the blood Kael's ancestors had spilled. Seren gripped his arm, her breath coming fast. "We can't keep running." He looked at her, the streaks of moonlight in her hair, the silver veins beneath her skin. She was burning from the inside out. "We'll find another way," he said. "There isn't one." "Don't say that." She smiled faintly. "You always say that when you're afraid." He turned away but she caught his hand. "Kael, listen to me." Her voice trembled but her eyes were steady. "The curse has to be unbound. I can feel it, inside me. It's calling to the moonfire. If I reach it I can stop her." "No. You'll die. So will everyone if I don't." He clenched his jaw. The bond throbbed painfully as though echoing her truth. "Then we end it together." Before she could protest, he pulled her close and kissed her, fierce, desperate, final. Their bond flared white-hot, pure and terrible. "I love you," he said against her lips. "Whatever happens, remember that." Then the ground split open. The fortress floor crumbled, revealing a vast chasm beneath, a sea of bones and glowing roots. At its center rose a crystal spire, black and pulsing, the heart of the curse. Lysandra's laughter echoed from below. "Welcome home, my king." Kael drew his blade, eyes burning. "Then let's finish this." They jumped. Chapter 23, Heart of the Curse. The descent felt endless, like falling through time itself. They landed on bone and ash. The air was thick with whispers, the voices of Kael's ancestors, bound and screaming in the dark. Lysandra stood atop the spire, her form half spirit, half flesh. "So noble," she said softly. "So doomed." Seren stepped forward. The mark on her wrist burned white-hot. "You wanted the gate open? Here I am." Lysandra smiled. "And here he is, the fool who damned us all." Kael's sword caught firelight. "I'll send you back to the pit myself." The witch raised her hands and the bones around them came alive. Battle erupted. Kael fought like a man possessed, cutting through skeletal wolves as Seren reached the spire. The moonfire inside her responded to the darkness, spinning in violent arcs that tore through the air. Seren. Kael shouted. It's too much. But she didn't stop. She pressed her palm to the spire. The world exploded in light. The bonds snapped taut. Kael felt her pain as his own. Images flooded his mind, her laughter, her courage, every touch, every kiss. Let me take it, he roared. She shook her head. You already did, Kael. You gave me strength. Now I give it back. The spire cracked, darkness spilling out like smoke. Lysandra screamed, her body fracturing into shards of shadow. But so did Seren. Kael caught her as she fell, her skin cold, her light fading. Stay with me, he whispered. She smiled faintly, blood on her lips. You found your throne, Alpha. His throat closed. I don't want the throne. I want you. She touched his face. Then make this mean something. The spire shattered. Chapter 24, The Last Howl. The curse broke like glass. Wolves, spirits, shadows, souls, rose and dissolved into starlight, freed at last. The earth trembled, the air filled with a chorus of howls that were not mournful but triumphant. Kael knelt, cradling Seren's body, moonlight bathing them both. Don't leave me, he whispered. But her heartbeat slowed, a soft, fading echo. He pressed his forehead to hers. Take mine. The bond flared wild and white. He pushed his life into hers, every drop of strength, every ounce of spirit, until his vision blurred and darkness crept in. Kael, no, her voice was faint, far away. He smiled weakly. I told you we'd end it together. Then the world went still. Silence. The moon hung over the ruins, vast, radiant, alive. A single wolf howl rose in the distance, one of victory, one of grief. Then, a heartbeat, soft, steady. Seren gasped, her lungs filling with light. Her skin shimmered, part mortal, part moonfire. Kael lay motionless beside her, peaceful, golden eyes closed. Tears streamed down her face. You stubborn fool. She pressed her hand to his chest, and something answered. A spark. The bond pulsed, not gone but changed. The moonfire within her flowed into him, gentle and sure. His chest rose, his eyes opened, and for a moment they both saw it, not curse, not death, but rebirth. He exhaled, voice hoarse. You always had terrible timing. She laughed through her tears. And you never listen. They held each other as the ruins burned, the blood moon fading to silver dawn. Chapter 25, The Alpha in Rags. Final chapter. Days passed. The forest healed. The keep, their keep, stood silent but strong. Kael walked its halls without his crown, without armor, in the same torn cloak he'd once worn as a beggar. Seren teased him for it, but he only smiled. I was a king once, he said. Didn't suit me. She arched a brow. And what suits you now? He leaned close. You. She rolled her eyes, but her smile was soft. Outside, the wolves, living now free, roamed the woods without fear. The blood moon had set, and with it, the curse of his line. That night they sat beneath the stars. Seren rested her head against his shoulder, her fingers tracing the mark that bound them, now glowing gold and silver intertwined. Do you think it's over? She whispered. Kael looked out at the horizon. Nothing's ever over. But for the first time it feels like a beginning. She turned to him. Then promise me something. Anything. No more running from what you are. He smiled faintly. And what am I? The Alpha in Rags. He laughed quietly. Still think that's who I am? She met his gaze. Yes. The one who chose love over power. The one who made himself human. The wind stirred the trees, carrying their scent, their laughter, their bond, strong, unbroken. Kael brushed his lips against her temple. Then may we never be anything else. Above them the moon rose, full, silver, gentle. And for the first time in centuries the wolves sang not to mourn the lost, but to celebrate the living. Their song carried through the valleys, echoing across the world, the hymn of a king reborn and the woman who taught him to love again.